Although the light was shaky, it seemed that it would soon be consumed again. Yet at this moment the light was straight ahead of it, guiding it in its frenzied sprint. Its steps became increasingly firm. The power overwhelming its body no longer bound its movements. They only lent more force to its strides. Clip-clop, clip-clop. In the silence of the night, the continuous sound of Star's firm hooves colliding with the road echoed out. Feeling Star's determination, the light of the white scar shone even brighter. In the dumbstruck presence of Su-Ran and the two little ones, the white scar, which initially had been faltering like a lonely boat amidst a storm, was surprisingly starting to push back against the dark single horn. White light began to spread on the single horn. The single horn trembled slightly, as if angered, and seemed fearful as well. More power exploded from within it, trying to extinguish the last glimmer of light that was stubbornly resisting. The two began a tug-of-war confrontation. Su-Ran's expression turned thoughtful. The white scar was a power Star had possessed since its awakening. It used to look more like a beautiful embellishment. This power was hidden deep within Star. But now, under the erosion of the single horn, this power was ignited. So, if the white scar triumphed over the single horn, would Star successfully complete its evolution? Thinking about it, Su-Ran cast an encouraging glance at Star. This was a battle they couldn't intervene in, a struggle originating from Star itself. So hang in there. As if it felt Su-Ran's gaze, Star's fighting spirit grew more vigorous, and the light of the white scar on its forehead shone even brighter and more sparkling. The power within the night demon dragon's horn, which had exploded, was continuously weakening, while the power of the white scar derived from Star was ceaseless. As time passed, the balance of advantage silently tipped between them. In the end, light shone on the outline of the night demon dragon's single horn, ripped apart the residual dark power within the horn, and calmed the crazily trembling horn rapidly. The next moment, the white scar began migrating from Star's forehead. The base of the single horn was already touching the white scar. It began to spread from the base to the tip of the horn, eventually resting on the tip, staining the very end white. Su-Ran quietly released his grip that had been holding the single horn. Somehow, the single horn, once a meter long, had now shrunk to half a meter, as if it had been polished, radiating the light of obsidian and emanating the aura of Star itself. He knew from this moment on, the single horn no longer belonged to the night demon dragon. It was Star's own single horn. A dark single horn sparkling with starlight. Zai-Lu-Lu. Star let out a stirring cry. As the showdown between the white scar and the single horn concluded, its struggle with darkness was unknowingly drawing to a close. The white light was getting closer and closer, as if it were within reach. Its robust hooves exploded with powerful strength. Star jumped with all its might, trying to reach that guiding radiance in its darkest hour. The white light transformed into countless images the moment it touched. It saw its father, who had always been its idol and goal, guiding it to run when it was young. It never possessed any transcendent powers and would tire out after just a moment. Whenever this happened, its father would never turn back. He would just silently slow down to ensure he was always in its sight. It saw Su-Ran bringing out the awakening stone and placing it on its forehead, fulfilling its lifelong dream. In its previous state of being immersed in the fantasy of awakening, it did not realize what was happening in the world outside. However, this time, from a god's eye view, it saw Su-Ran standing by its side the whole time, his eyes filled with anticipation. It saw Xian taking it around, while it was still naive after just awakening, to every corner of the foster care area. The foster care residents who, at the time were strangers, became familiar to it quickly through Xian's introduction. Tempered by Xian's poise with Star freshly integrated into the foster care community, they warmed up and helped him adapt to his new life quickly. It saw Can-Can just after birth trailing behind it, listening to the introduction of the residents as patiently as Xian had done for it. Star, who had never been a senior before, was quite insecure in its heart. But Can-Can's adoring look and ever-present curiosity about the world filled it with a sense of responsibility for the first time. It had thought the light guiding it was a dark star in the sky, a kindred soul to its own condition. At this moment, it realized that the guiding light had always been by its side. Zai-Lu-Lu. Amidst a cacophony of complex emotions, brilliant white light erupted all around Star. Its strength soared visibly as it continued to ascend dramatically. At the same time, its shape within the bright light began to transform. In this moment, it was not only evolving but also advancing. Star, who was originally 4 meters tall, visibly grew stronger, maintaining its original size without getting bigger. On its initially pure black body, faint starlight appeared intermittently, like a flowing star chart, each fleeting image slightly different after each flash. Dazzling purple light appeared on Star's purple hooves. Each step produced a swirling star cloud light at the place where Star's foot landed. A pointed horn dyed white at the tip, sparkling with an unquenchable brilliant light as splendid as a diamond. It was like a bright star in the blackness. It no longer needed the guidance of starlight, because the starlight was on it. When the light faded, Star in a new form carried Suran and the 2 small ones, galloping freely on the mountain road. At this moment, it was not for evolution, but for indulgence of its inner heart. Charge! Looking at Star, who was in high spirits, Suran laughed heartily, not immediately interrupting its galloping, but silently opening the system panel. Contract Pet Beast, Star. Race Name, Star God Horse. Attribute, Dark Attribute. Growth Stage, Leadership Stage 17, 9W/30W+. Race Stage, King Species. Skills: Night Rune, Full Moon Level Plus. Faded Star Pulling, Full Moon Level Plus. Night Inspection, Waning Moon Level Plus. Moon Concealment, Star Racing, Waning Moon Level Plus. Heart of Eternal Night, Full Moon Level Plus. King's Power, Stardust Level Plus. Immortal Star Attraction, Stardust Level Plus. There are 2 more skills. Suran nodded slightly. Unlike the changes before and after Xian's evolution, perhaps because there was no new second attribute, Star's previous skills did not change at all. The 2 extra skills, one of which is the King's Power that the King species must master, and the other one is the 2-star skill Immortal Star Attraction. Star cast Immortal Star Attraction. Xilu, okay. Star neighed, its eyes flickered with excited emotions. It just so happened that it wanted to try this new skill. As power surged, Star's single horn became even more brilliant. Dazzling light circulated at the tip of the horn, as if it was about to turn the whole horn completely white. An unusual power spread from the horn all around, and Suran felt that everything around him seemed to become brighter. Even though it was a dark attribute pet beast, it had a skill that could emit light. Suran chuckled and then opened his mouth to ask, what is the specific effect of this skill? Based on the current situation, it seemed impossible to make a direct judgment. Star knew this as well, and immediately began to explain the specific effects of this skill. After it finished, surprised expressions crossed the faces of Suran and the 2 small ones. The effect of this skill was extraordinary. It could break all illusions and lies, guiding the path with starlight. Because there were no illusions around at the moment, the light just now seemed unimpressive. If there were illusions around, the light just now could have instantly made the illusions disappear. The frequency of using this skill may not be too high, but it is crucial at certain key moments. Very good. Suran nodded seriously, and a satisfied look appeared on his face. Star's previous skills had already formed a system of their own. At this time, the Immortal Star Attraction was a kind of perfection to Star's auxiliary abilities, making it able to cope with more complex combat situations. Then next, Xilu Add Point. Chapter 245, 157, Xian, Please Whip Me Freely. Growth Stage, Leadership Stage, 179K/300K+. Growth Stage, Leadership Stage, 193K/300K+. The 13,465 physical points that Star had previously exchanged were finally put to use at this moment. In the short time after the evolution, Star, which had originally stagnated, with a big gap away from Xian's power, had now come close to Xian. However, Xian was not at all flustered. After all, its growth stage progress has officially broken through 200K through the continuous absorption over the past few days. Next, it and Star started off at the same starting line, and all Beast Master points and remaining value points are reduced to 0. There's no way Star could catch up. If you really want to compare, it has a huge advantage in skill proficiency over Star. Xilu Tilda, keep adding skill points. A sense of excitement and anticipation appeared in Star's eyes when it cried out. The remaining 519 skill points from the last exchange are now put into use at this moment. The 3-star skill King's Power and the 2-star skill Immortal Star Attraction, both newly awakened, could break through from Stardust level to Starlight level today. even though they still have a considerable disparity from the other skills. Focusing on training these two skills next would soon catch up to the other skills. After all, for transcendent beings at the leadership stage, Stardust level and Starlight level skills show increased proficiency, and their efficiency is higher. I suggest you hold off on using skill points, Suran smiled. From 0 proficiency to waning moon level requires 600 skill points. With your leadership stage strength, training Stardust level skills is very efficient. It's not impossible to improve by 81 points overnight. Therefore, if you train a skill first and use skill points afterwards, you can raise either King's Power or Immortal Star Attraction to waning moon level before tomorrow's exchange event. Xilu Tilda, is that so? Star seemed to ponder Suran's suggestion. Suran's suggestion is quite tempting for it. But the question now is which skill to choose. Star glanced at Xian and had an answer in its mind. Train Immortal Star Attraction first. Even if King's Power is a higher level skill, Xian, which also belongs to King species, has already mastered it. Even if its proficiency improves quickly, it won't surpass Xian, which is already at full moon level, and its help in tomorrow's battle is limited. It would be better to enhance Immortal Star Attraction. What if it comes in handy tomorrow? Xilu Tilda, I will train Immortal Star Attraction. It's a good choice. Suran nodded slightly before suddenly thinking of something and smiled. Actually, there is a special way to train King's Power that's faster than what I taught Xian. Meow, what is it? Xian abruptly looked up, showing a curious expression. After its evolution was complete, Suran taught it how to train several newly awakened skills, including King's Power. Does the Beast Master have an ace up his sleeve? This training method couldn't be implemented before. Suran patted its little head, seeing Xian's puzzlement, but it can now, but it will only work for Star. Meow, so what's the method? Xian looked disappointed. Damn it, it was the first to master King's Power. The method lets a pet beast with higher King's Power proficiency keep releasing the skill, while the one with lower proficiency defends with its own King's Power. In this process, the proficiency of King's Power will skyrocket. Eh? After hearing Suran's words, Xian couldn't help looking at Star with a bewildered expression on its face. So, do I have to use King's Power to oppress Star? The confusion in Star's eyes quickly faded, replaced by excitement. Big Sis using Full Moon's King's Power to suppress itself could improve its skill proficiency quickly. That would save so many skill points. Xilu, please whip me as much as you want. Xian. Meow, I won't do it. Xian rolled its eyes dramatically. Isn't this just naked sparring? It won't do such a time-consuming and frustrating. Xilu, 100 value points for one day, I'll give you next time. Meow, deal. Xian's eyes lit up and it quickly nodded. You should have said there was a reward. 100 value points a day, let's do it. Suran's smile twitched slightly, and a smile appeared in his eyes. These little guys have discovered a new use for value points again. It's getting late, let's go back to the hotel. Suran chuckled, we have to perform well tomorrow and advertise for our new shop. Meow. Xilu. Charming. The thought of advertising made the three little ones all excited at the same time. With advertising, there will be more business. With more business, Suran will give them more resources. For the sake of resources, let's press on. Holy shit. Early the next morning, when the people of Kingju City convened again, a surprised shout came out from the crowd. Sujiyuju's expression was exaggerated, her eyes wide open as she looked at Star, who was following behind Suran and had completely changed its shape and was emanating the powerful force of the leadership stage. She couldn't help but shudder. You evolved successfully in just one night. Pure luck, it's all pure luck, Suran spoke with a hearty laugh. Behind him, Star, its glowing single horn lifted high, looked radiant even after staying awake the whole night. Chapter 246, 157, Xian, please whip me freely. After a night of intense training and Suran's enhancement, its Immortal Star Attraction had successfully broken through to the waning moon level. However, trailing behind Star were Xian and Cancan, looking quite dispirited, evidently having not gotten a good night's sleep. Probably too excited about its completed evolution, Star couldn't help but express its joy of becoming stronger last night. Suran was meditating, so Xian and Cancan bore the brunt of it. Anyone would have trouble sleeping with a creature that continually emitted light and occasionally approached you, telling you that it had finally evolved. Had it not been for the exasperated Xian slapping star, they wouldn't have been able to sleep the second half of the night. How can there be such good luck? Gu Ling began. Boss Su, you chose to evolve last night. Surely you must have had high confidence in it. She glanced back enviously at the dark-scaled dragon, faithfully following behind her. Although she had encountered many talented young beast masters when she was living in Xian City, she did not have any contact with them at the time. This exchange and discussion was a novel experience for her as well. At this moment, a fire known as Fighting Spirit was burning inside Gu Ling. She hadn't obtained the second stage contract power yet since she had just awakened her contract power, but at least she can try to catch up with other beast masters in other areas, such as evolution. For instance, evolution. There are quite a few transcendent level beast masters who choose to let their pet beasts evolve. If others can do it, there's no reason she can't. After returning to Qingju City this time, she would begin to prepare for the evolution. At this moment, the other beast masters also couldn't help showing envious expressions. Their pet beasts were still far from evolution. But Su Ran had already completed the evolution of 2 pet beasts and breached the leadership level. This kind of gap was truly... What are you guys chatting about? Gu Wu approached with a composed smile. Su Ran's impressive performance yesterday made him, as the team leader, very proud. Several acquaintances from the Beast Master Association in Xian City had taken the initiative to cultivate relationships, an experience he hadn't had before. Nothing boosts morale like a happy occasion, and Gu Wu was naturally in a great mood today. Su Ran's second pet beast has evolved. Gu Ling glanced at her father and nodded towards Su Ran. What's the commotion about? It's just N. The smile on Gu Wu's face froze halfway through his speech. Lei. He turned his head sharply to look at Star trailing behind Su Ran, unable to maintain his composed expression anymore. Even though Su Ran had mentioned before that he would have his second pet beast evolve once he switched evolution resources in Xian City, is evolution something that could be achieved that easily? It's not. Why is that? Just a stroke of luck, Su Ran responded, wearing an innocent smile. Gu Wu was left speechless. It should be a happy occasion that Su Ran became stronger, boosting their odds at today's exchange and discussion, but he somehow couldn't muster any joy. Forget it, he was tired, enough was enough. Today is the second day of the exchange, let's move. His voice lost its cheerfulness. I'll explain the rules on the way. There are some changes in the rules from yesterday. The biggest change is the addition of wager battles. Gu Wu paused slightly. I mentioned this before but didn't go into details because it wasn't part of the first day's agenda. In a wager battle, one party challenges the other with equal stakes. The winner takes all after the fight. The challenged party has the right to refuse, but refusing one same level challenge will forfeit the ability to challenge others for the day. Refusing a challenge from a higher level beastmaster won't have this effect, like an elite level beastmaster refusing a challenge from a leadership level beastmaster. Su Ran stroked his chin, appearing to be in deep thought. This rule was quite interesting. This way, unless one had absolutely no interest in wager battles, it would be difficult to reject a same-level challenge. But, glancing back at Xian and Star following behind him, a confident and relaxed smile appeared on Su Ran's face. If it were yesterday, he might have had some reservations about the stronger beast masters in the second-level town. And now, he really didn't believe that anyone was stronger than him. Of course, you don't have to choose a duel. You can exchange ideas and spar like yesterday, Gu Wu smiled. However, after winning today's sparring, there won't be any reward from the association anymore. Basically, that's about it. Does everyone understand? Got it. Everyone simultaneously nodded. While conversing, they had already arrived at the site where they had sparred yesterday. Today's sparring would also be carried out here. However, unlike yesterday, the positions of the people from Qingju City had changed. Under the guide of a staff member, to the surprise of several people from Qingju City, their location changed from a nondescript corner yesterday to the row of the best seats, just after 3 second-level towns. Those who were able to sit in this level of seats were among the best in the 3-level towns, and they all owned a king-level beast master. In a blink of an eye, they understood. The only factor for this change could be Su Ran. In any place, the most powerful comes first. Gu Wu smiled, not surprised. Let's sit. Everyone responded and took their seats. As soon as Su Ran sat down, he felt a pat on his shoulder. Su Jiujiu leaned in front of Su Ran with a mischievous face and lowered her voice. Boss Su, do you want a wife? Su Ran. Look. Su Jiujiu chuckled, lowered her voice and pointed at a distance. There's a girl looking at you over there. Su Ran turned his head and saw, and indeed, a girl from another third-level town was looking at him. She quickly looked away when he noticed her. However, glancing around, Su Ran's face quickly showed a helpless expression. There are so many people looking at me, and quite a few of them are men. Presumably, the reason they were watching him was because of how he had suppressed the leadership-level beast master of Xian City yesterday, right? Do you also want men? Su Jiujiu exclaimed, this time without lowering her voice, and was heard by a large group around them. The field suddenly quieted down. Su Ran clenched his fists, and a vein bulged on his forehead. Su Jiujiu. Su Jiujiu quickly covered her mouth, but her eyes still carried the expression of, I didn't know you were that kind of person. With this, it seemed even more like an attempt to cover up the truth. Feeling the increasingly strange gazes around him, Su Ran took a deep breath. Never mind, he should ignore these antic-like behavior from a woman. Time quickly reached the official start of the exchange. Like yesterday, Yu Shengjiang stood on his overlord stage tiger pet beast, descending from the sky. The shock brought by the sight of the imperial crown, whether visual or spiritual, had not diminished at all. It seemed that after being humiliated by Su Ran yesterday, Yu Shengjiang had made today's show-off longer, presumably to boost the morale of the beast masters in Xian City. His gaze swept the crowd below until he found Su Ran, where he breathed a sigh of relief. Good, he came. This kid made Xian City lose a lot of face yesterday. The young genius Beastmaster who led the Xian City Beastmaster Association was defeated just like a broken bamboo by a Beastmaster from a third-level town. It was unbearable for anyone. What made him even more annoyed was that this kid just walked away. He did not even try to recover some dignity. Today, he was definitely going to recover that lost reputation. With that thought in mind, Yu Shengjiang's eyes fell on a corner of the Beastmaster seats in Xian City. When he saw a slender young man with golden hair who had not appeared yesterday, his heart settled a bit. This lazy kid is finally here. In a split second, Yu Shengjiang pulled back his grandeur, landed slowly and spoke loudly, echoing in all directions. Today's exchange is officially starting. Rushing towards Chapter 2. Chapter 247, 158. The power of genius grows every day. The exchange has finally begun. In the Beast Master's seat of Xian City, Yi Haoming couldn't help but sit upright. He glanced at the youngster who had his hands behind his back, legs crossed and eyes closed in recuperation, and couldn't help but speak softly. Qin Can, when are you planning to make your move? Don't rush me. Qin Can didn't even bother lifting his eyes. Let me sleep a little longer. Yi Haoming helplessly shook his head. Combining the previous rumors and the first-hand experience of last night, he had gained a good understanding of Qin Can's character, so he casually commented, if another beast master defeats Su Ran, the reward from Vice President you will be gone. Swoosh. A faint sound of wind whirring could be heard, and the figure leaning in the chair had already disappeared. In the center of the field, a figure appeared. Qin Can of Xian City challenges Su Ran of Qingju City. Qin Can flicked his golden fringe, letting the sunlight shine on his handsome face, and shouted towards the direction of Qingju City. This caused a ripple effect. Ever since Su Ran defeated the leadership-level beast master of Xian City yesterday, everyone speculated that Xian City would retaliate in some way. But the surprise was that they showed their intentions right from the start of the exchange. The field was echoing with debates. At Qingju City's seating area, everyone's eyes were focused on Su Ran. This guy wasn't with Xian City's team yesterday. Liu Guang began in a deep voice. There's no pet beast by his side either, so it's hard to gauge his power. I think I've heard of him before. Gu Ling, sitting beside him, looked at Qin Can's signature golden fringe and a hint of uncertainty flashed in his eyes. If the rumors are true, it's likely that all three of his pet beasts have already evolved. As Gu Ling finished speaking, the expressions of others subtly changed. Yesterday, the strongest beast master of Xian City only had 2 evolved pet beasts. This guy was supposedly stronger. Despite the evolution of Star, Everyone was suddenly apprehensive about the upcoming fight of Su Ran. What Linger said is right. Gu Wu slowly nodded. There are quite a few beast masters in Xian City who have broken through to the leadership level before the age of 25, but only he has managed to fully evolve all 3 pet beasts before that age. This is Qin Kan, the strongest young beast master of Xian City. He didn't participate in yesterday's exchange. If he's here today, it is likely that he's targeting Su Ran. Gu Wu turned to Su Ran. Be careful. Okay? Su Ran just nodded slightly, obviously not too intimidated by the slightly less handsome youth on the stage. So what if he has 3 king species? There are differences even among kings. Let's go, we are joining in. Su Ran slowly spoke, before leading 3 little ones on stage one step after another. So, how much information have you gathered from your companions about me? Looking at Su Ran, who had just stepped on the stage, Qin Kan slightly tilted his head, revealing a 45-degree side profile. Unfortunately, that information is already outdated. Because the power of a genius becomes stronger every single day. Su Ran's mouth twitched slightly. This is the strongest young beast master of Xian City. What are we betting on for this game? An Earth Attribute General Stage Resource. Qin Kan pulled out a jade box from his waist and slowly opened it. Sitting in his seat, Yi Haoming couldn't help but feel a sting in his eyes. This resource was valuable. In order to tempt Su Ran to accept the wager, he had done his homework on the attributes of Su Ran's 3 pet beasts and had chosen a suitable resource. The moment the jade box opened, an overwhelming sense of power stormed out. Inside the box was an ordinary-looking root system, still covered in mud. But the moment Kan saw it, her breathing became noticeably rapid. She felt intensely attracted to the resource in front of her. The Earth Attribute General Stage Resource, the Milky Bamboo Stone Root. Qin Kan chuckled. The natural formation of stalactite and stalagmites happened to grow together, absorbing a large amount of Earth Attribute power to transform from stone to actual trees. The roots of such stone trees possess exceptionally active Earth Attribute power. Upon absorption, it will enhance Earth Attribute skills to a certain extent and can absorb power over a long period. It's worth 3,200 Beast Master Points. Can you present a bet of the same value? Earth Attribute. Su Ran couldn't help but glance at Kan, who was fixated on the Milky Bamboo Stone Root. Despite having gathered all the evolution resources, Kan currently did not have a resource that could enhance her capabilities. This Milky Bamboo Stone Root could be utilized not just now. Kan could continue to leverage it even after her evolution, breaking through to the leadership stage. However, it seemed he was unable to stake a wager of the same value. Before Su Ran could respond, Star suddenly let out a screech. Zai-Lu-Lu, bet my star refining dark stone. Meow Tilda, and my resonance bead. Xian licked her paw, an eager look flashing in her eyes. These 2 resources, obtained since their arrival at Xian City, were worth 1,800 and 1,600 Beast Master Points, respectively. Added together, they were worth a total of 3,400 Beast Master Points. Since some of the power had already been absorbed, the value decreased somewhat, but it was still of equivalent value to the opposing wager. Charming, no. Seeing the resources presented by Xian and Star, Kan's eyes widened. Having spent day and night with the 2 of them, Kan was beyond aware of their need for the general stage resources. Yet now, for her sake, they were willing to put up everything they had. Chapter 248, 158. The power of genius grows every day. What Kan found even more difficult to accept was that, in this battle, it seemed she didn't even have an opportunity to intervene. Being only an elite stage pet, its only role was to stand by Su Ran's side. Meow, are you really thinking we're going to lose? Xian slapped Kan on the head, full of confidence in its eyes. They were just temporarily taken away, but after this battle, they would still belong to Kan. Zai-Lu, exactly. Star nodded in agreement, tapped Kan's scale armor with her hoof, indicating it not to speak anymore. The Milky Bamboo Stone Root would be taken away by them. Looking at the spirited and confident seniors, Kan's eyes were filled with admiration, worship, and emotion. She finally stood by Su Ran's side in silence. After making some estimations in his mind, Qin Kan on the other side of the fighting platform nodded satisfyingly. Bet. Although these resources did not quite match the attributes of his own pet beast, the Beast Master Association could convert them into Beast Master points, so he would not lose anything. Considering that for making him to take action, Yehaming had already given him 2 general stage resources, and after winning against Su-ran, Vice President, you would reward him with a general stage resource. Ken's mood was getting better and better. Fight 1 round, gain 6 resources. Where else could he find such a good deal? As for losing, Ken had not thought about it at all. There were only 2 on the opposing team at the leader stage, while his 3 pet beasts were all at the leader stage and were king species, each with 1 or 2 skills upgraded to the full moon level. How could he lose? If he were to lose, he'd even reverse his last name. The hexagram star array suddenly shone behind Ken's head. In the midst of the shrieking winds, 3 different shaped pet beasts emerged from the storm. One of them was humanoid and semi-transparent, shrouded in a mist that made it appear as if it was wearing a cloud-like dress. King species of the super ability attribute, Mist Song Envoy. Another looked like a rhinoceros, about 7 or 8 meters in length, covered in a hard rock shell. The heavy body caused the ground to rumble with each step. King species of the Earth attribute, Earth Roaring Rhino. The last one was small, sometimes visible, sometimes not within the wind, making it hard to see its exact outline, and the occasional laughter came from all directions, making it impossible to predict where its attack would come from. King species of the Wind attribute, Wind Unseen Force. The moment the 3 king species appeared, they all looked towards Su-ran simultaneously. The next moment, an invisible pressure rolled towards Su-ran and the 3 pet beasts. 3-star skill, Waning Moon Level King's Power. The simultaneous eruption of the 3 king species made the air in the field almost solidify in an instant. Without even engaging in a fight, Ken seemed to be giving Su-ran a taste of his power. Come on, show me what you've got. Ken laughed and pointed forcefully in Su-ran's direction, triggering the simultaneous action of his 3 pet beasts. The earth-roaring rhino roared and spikes of rock protruded from its shell in an instant. With the display of enormous earth attribute power around it, it charged towards Su-ran as if it were an armored vehicle. 3-star skill, Waning Moon Level Rockthorn Armor. With each step it took, the entire fighting platform exploded with a booming noise. The rebounding force spread in all directions, sweeping towards Su-ran's direction. 3-star skill, Full Moon Level Earth-Shaking Roar. A chilling wind accompanied the earth-roaring rhino's charge. The green storm morphed into towering tornadoes. 3-star skill, Waning Moon Level Tornado Group. At this moment, the Wind Unseen Force completely hid its trace and breath, like an assassin lurking in the dark ready to launch a deadly attack at any time. 3-star skill, Full Moon Level Hidden Wind Charge. A mournful song echoed in the field, sounding like a frail candle that could be extinguished at any time. Yet even in the fierce wind and the roaring of the earth, nothing could drown it out. The clear voice, like a sharp needle, penetrated into the mind of Su-ran and the 3 little ones, bringing intense pain. 3-star skill, Waning Moon Level Soul Subduing Melody. At the same time, a sea full of floating corpses suddenly appeared before Su-ran and the 3 little ones. Ferocious claws emerged from the sea of blood, followed by a skyful of skeletons killing towards them. The earth-roaring rhino and Wind Unseen Force seemed to disappear at this moment. Yet the spine-chilling oppressive sense was still unambiguously clear, proving that they have not disappeared but were hidden by some special power. 3-star skill, Full Moon Level Bloody Phantasmal Sonata. 1 close-quarter attack, 1 sneak attack, and 1 interference. The 3 king species pet beasts erupted with their fiercest attack in perfect sync in an instant. Ken seemed to disdain and underestimate Su-ran, but when he actually made his move, he didn't hold back at all. Watching from afar as Su-ran was surrounded by the 3 pet beasts, a playful smile appeared in Ken's eyes. Su-ran, are you scared yet? Facing the storm-like attack, Su-ran's eyes blazed with an equally high fighting spirit. This was the first time he encountered such a strong opponent. But so what? Xian Star. Su-ran's cry resonated simultaneously in Xian and Star's minds through the contract sensing. Strike, let them see our strength. Meow, I've been waiting for this moment. Xian's eyes flashed with excitement. Scared? How could it possibly be scared? As the crushing king's power of 3 Waning Moon-level kings enveloped it, it felt almost ignited. Star, amp it up. Xilulu. Star let out a cry, raising its forefoot high. The black light enveloped it in an instant. The awe-inspiring momentum at this moment rose step by step, and the eternal night descended. 3-star skill, full moon level, heart of eternal night. Effect, dark attribute skills amplification. The bright stardust, like a diamond, sparkled on the single horn in the middle of Star's forehead. Like a light piercing through the darkness, it instantly tore apart the terrifying blood sea before everyone's eyes, revealing the wind unseen force sharpening its blade in the wind, the earth-roaring rhino that had already sprinted forward, and the mist-song envoy with a dumbfounded expression. 2-star skill, waning moon level, immortal star attraction. The next second, Star's raised forefoot heavily landed on the ground. The complex dark line pattern appeared around Xian in an instant. 3-star skill, full moon level, night rune. At the moment when the three king species pet beasts attacked, Xian's power rose rapidly at a terrifying speed. 220,000 50,000 270,000. Amidst the rapidly changing expressions of the three opponents, the power around Xian kept rising until it reached 300,000 before slowly coming to a halt. The corners of its mouth rose slightly. The next moment, the invisible pressure turned into ripples and enveloped in all directions from its center. Boom! With a terrifying explosion, it seemed like something in the void was crushed by the terrifying pressure, and the king's power that had been suppressing Su Ran, and the three pet beasts were crushed like rotten wood under the higher-level full moon level king's power. The increasingly terrible pressure did not reduce, instantly enveloping the three king species pet beasts, whose expressions changed in shock. The next moment, an imposing voice resounded throughout the field. Meow! As the voice echoed, a purple lightning struck the 1-kilometer-square fighting platform, covering the entire field with a sea of thunderbolts. 3-star skill, full moon level, thunder shake, heavenly sound. Range full open. The incoming tornado was shredded in an instant by the even more violent electric arc. The wind unseen force hidden in the wind let out a painful cry, its petite body outlined by the crazy electric arc, and then quickly turned into a burnt figure. In the terrifying thunder sea that could even pierce through the earth-roaring rhino's earth attribute felt like a joke. It writhed painfully on the ground. The jumping lightning filled its indestructible rock armor, leaving it defenseless. The graceful mist-song envoy trembled under the thunder strike. Even its dress formed by mist was almost torn apart. The moan, full of resentment, turned into a sharp scream before abruptly ending when it fell to the ground. The thunder sea scattered, and Qinken's three pet beasts were all annihilated. Looking at Qinken's bewildered face, Su Ran smiled. The strength of a genius is improving every single day, isn't it? Chapter 249, 159. Boss Su never forgets his original intention. Hearing Su Ran repeat his words before the match, Qinken couldn't help but shoot him a resentful glance. This damned guy. However, in the next moment, seeing Su Ran pull out a flag from his backpack, Qinken was taken aback. Even his disappointment from his defeat was momentarily subdued. What is this guy doing? The same question arose in the hearts of all those unfamiliar with Su Ran. Among the seats of Qingju City, the beast masters who had known Su Ran for more than a day were now revealing strange expressions. Did any of you notice? Su Ran brought a bag on stage, Su Jiuju asked gloomily. Didn't notice. Su Xiaoxiao helplessly held her forehead. Everyone's attention was on that Qinken guy earlier. Boss Su just went up like that. I heard before that Boss Su likes to advertise, but I never saw it with my own eyes. Mu Mengdan couldn't help widening her eyes, a puzzled look on her face. But is there any use in advertising outside of Qingju City? Others nodded in agreement, evidently carrying the same question in their hearts. Would beast masters from other cities risk coming to Qingju City for washing and protection because of an advertisement? This question was answered in the next second. Because Su Ran, under the gaze of the crowd, finally unfurled that flag and started waving it vigorously. In the wind, the flag rustled, and the gilded letters on it became incredibly eye-catching. Starfair Foster Care Shop Xian City branch is about to open. Stay tuned. Upon seeing the words on the flag, the venue fell into a strange silence. The next moment, an uproar burst forth. Clearly, no one expected that this youth, who came from a small city and yet defeated the strongest young beast master of Xian City, would act like this. Unexpectedly, does little Su have a branch in Xian City? Even Gu Wu couldn't hold it in anymore at this moment. He turned to look at the others. Everyone looked at each other until Gu Ling seemed to recall something and said quietly, "Boss Su seemed to have asked me yesterday afternoon about where to find a real estate agent in Xi'an City." Hearing this, everyone fell silent. So, Gu Wu's mouth twitched slightly, looking at Su Ran, who was still waving the flag on the stage. "He bought a shop yesterday, hasn't opened it yet, but is already advertising in advance to preheat. What I'm more worried about is that, now that Boss Su has a branch here, what will happen to the shop in Kingju City?" Su Xiaoxiao, resting her cheek on her hand, looked troubled. "I don't want Little Flame to be taken care of by Teacher Tony." Reminded by Su Xiaoxiao of this, everyone's expressions turned complex. Instead of worrying about this, why not take the opportunity to ask Boss Su directly? Gu Ling rubbed Su Xiaoxiao's head and suggested quietly. "Yes," Su Xiaoxiao nodded, "let's do that." Su Ran, I will remember you." Handing the milky bamboo stone root to Su Ran, Chin Can wore a disgruntled expression. His dissatisfaction wasn't because he had lost to Su Ran. It was because this guy advertised using his defeat. Wasn't this taking advantage of him? When did he, Chin Can, start getting taken advantage of by others? Wait, when we meet again in Xi'an City, I will eventually reclaim this defeat. After dropping a harsh statement, Chin Can turned and left. Well, this. Su Ran shook his head helplessly and handed the jade box, now in his possession, to Can. "Here you go." Charming tilde. Raising its front paws to hug the jade box, Can's eyes suddenly teared up. "What happened?" asked the surprised Su Ran. Even Xian and Star, who had just teamed up to secure a win, showed a cautious and wary expression on their faces. "Charming, it's nothing." Can cradled the jade box with one paw and wiped away its tears with the other, shaking its head continuously. It didn't know why it was crying. But seeing Su Ran, Xian, and Star go all out to win such precious resources for it, while it couldn't help in any way throughout, feeling like a mere spectator, it suddenly felt very upset. As if it was the one dragging the team down. "Meow tilde, don't cry, don't cry." Xian hastily patted Can's head with a paw, his face filled with anxiety and concern. "This little one, why did he suddenly start crying?" "Xilu tilde, it's all right." Star dropped its head to nuzzle Can's cheek. The purple crystal-like eyes, full of reassurance and affirmation, gradually calmed Can's nerves. When Star first met us, Xian had already reached the elite stage, and Star hadn't awakened yet and was just an ordinary creature. Through contractual sensing, Su Ran sensed the crux of Can's troubles and began to speak softly. "Charming, is that true?" Can looked up at Star, a look of surprise on its face. Star, who has always been leading it, was once just an ordinary creature. "Xilu, that's right." Star nodded, giving a positive reply. Su Ran laughed. "You see, it has now caught up with Xian and can stand on its own. You started later, but that's okay." He reached out and gently stroked Can's head. "In the future, you will definitely catch up with them soon." "Charming, okay." Can nodded furiously. Its spirits quickly recovered, and any trace of its previous distress was gone. Chapter 250, 159. Boss Su never forgets his original intention. It turned its head to look at Xian and Star. A gleam of determination flashed in its eyes. "You're protecting me now, and I'll protect you in the future. All right, we've got the resources and the advertising is done. Time to go." Su Ran grinned. "We can take a good stroll around Xi'an City, but we have to go home tomorrow." Going home. A look of anticipation bloomed in the eyes of the three little ones. "I wonder what Kingju City is like now." Chirp tilde. Staring. Inside Kingju City, a little creature crouched in a corner, its sea-blue eyes filled with caution and scrutiny, watching a small food stall on the street. Its pretty blue beak, with nostrils constantly drawing in the delicious smells floating from the food stall, brought unbidden tears to the corners of the little creature's eyes. It used its wings to wipe the corners of its mouth, and its gaze turned serious again. It had been 3 days since it had entered this city belonging to humans. In these 3 days, using their clan's unique abilities, the little creature had been secretly observing everything about human society without raising any alarms. It found out that Dad was lying to it. The supposed deep hatred humans bear for transcendent beings, that even enslaved pet beasts are often mistreated by them. Absolute nonsense. These humans treated pet beasts incredibly well. Not only did they feed them delicious food that made it drool, but they also groomed their fur, bathed them, and cleaned their surroundings. Thinking of the beast field, where the survival of the fittest reigned, weaker species could only become food for others, while stronger species were locked in fierce competition and there was no sanitation to speak of, the little creature felt like crying in comparison. This wasn't slavery, it was living in luxury. And also, the idea that human society is cruel or conflict would immediately lead to internal strife, self-claiming to be superior to transcendent beings, yet doing the same things transcendent beings would do. That was also rubbish. In the 3 days it had been observing, it had seen numerous humans being punished and even locked up for issues that would be considered negligible in transcendent beings' society. Like defecating anywhere, mating with a human female who already has a mate. The rules here were much more strict than in the beast field. After 3 days, the little creature became quite fond of its new experiences in the human world. It didn't want to go back. However, at this moment, it faced a serious challenge. The challenge was how to get the food from this stall. Based on its observance during this time, everything in the human world had to be bought with something called money. Taking without permission was called stealing and would be punished. It was a little princess in the beast field. If word got out that it was stealing in the human world, that would be so embarrassing. But it didn't have human money either. So, should it use its abilities? The little creature was torn. If discovered by humans, it could be a bit risky. There seemed to be a few creatures more formidable than itself in this city. Meow. Where do you come from, transcendent being? A low voice appeared behind the little creature. Chirp. The little creature's feathers exploded. It had used its abilities to hide. Why was it detected? Damn it. It must have been seduced by the aroma of the food, causing a flaw in its abilities. Yes, it must have been that. It slowly turned around with great caution and saw a pair of big feet. Chirp. The little creature blinked, slowly lifting its head to follow the feet upward, looking at a face with a few scars, which seemed rather fierce. 1 step, 2 steps. The little creature carefully stepped backward, then turned around and bolted. Chirp. Help, I'm going to be eaten by a cat. As it ran, the little creature felt as though its paws had hit empty air, yet the fluttering scenery around it remained the same. It felt something grab its head, lifted it up and slowly turned it around. It was face to face with the big face again. \** symbol A4A6 Lao letter EB4, symbol A4A6 Lao letter EB5. Dad, you were right. The human world, it's indeed dangerous. Meow. Why were you running? Boss Cat scratched its head in confusion, then looked at the stall on the side of the road. This little creature seemed to have been staring at the stall just now. But it didn't pounce. Boss Cat gave the little creature an approving look, then gently put it down, patted it on its head and walked towards the stall. Meow. Wait for me. Squeak. I wasn't eaten. The little critter, holding its head with its wings, was looking at Boss Cat approaching a stall, a conflicted expression on its face. I've been found, should I run? In its indecision, it saw Boss Cat reaching to his waist for something when he arrived at the stall. Money. Money? This big fellow actually has human money. At this moment, the critter's eyes were filled with adoration. So impressive, how did he get it? Watching Boss Cat handing the money to the human at the stall, and then picking up 2 fragrant meals, walking over to this side, a nervous and hopeful expression flashed in the critter's eyes. 2 meals? Will they be for me? Not necessarily. This big guy is so big, could he eat 2 meals himself? Probably. Watching a meal being handed over to it, the little critter's eyes lit up. It's really for me. The critter held the food container with its wings and began to eat in an imagined and satisfying way. It really is delicious. Squeak. You're such a good cat. The meaning behind its phrase was echoing in Boss Cat's mind, surprising the cat, who was about to taste the other food. Is this a 1-star super ability attribute skill, mind induction? Watching the critter eat, seemingly unconcerned with its appearance, Boss Cat wiped the leftovers from the corner of its mouth with a paw, a hint of laughter flickering in his eyes. Good cat, huh? Chin can come out. Yehaming was livid, his face reddened with rage. He was standing in front of a luxurious villa, shouting at the house. Give me back my resources. Okay, stop howling. A slightly lazy voice resounded from behind Yehaming, I'm not even home. You dare. Yehaoming was about to retort, but he was cut off by Chin-can. Hey, 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 come in and talk. Chin-can rolled his eyes. If you're not going home, I need to. Fine you. Yehaoming nodded in anger and followed Chin-can into the house, but was interrupted again. Right, I won't charge extra this time. Chin-can patted Yehaoming's shoulder, appearing as if he was at a loss. Yehaoming, huh? With an incredulous look on his face, he watched Chin-can. He came to reclaim the 2 general stage resources he gave Chin-can. Yet, this guy had the audacity to say he wouldn't charge extra. Where's his shame? You were defeated. You lost and you still have the audacity to charge extra. Why are you so surprised? Chin-can said with an expression that made it seem like it should be obvious. Think about it. Why did you have to spend resources to get me to defeat Su Ran for you? Of course it's because. Just when Yehaoming was about to reply, he was interrupted again. Because you were defeated by Su Ran and have lost face for the association. The plan was compromised, so you need to make reparations. Chin-can paused before continuing. Am I right? Yes. This time Yehaoming was thoughtful and had to admit that Chin-can was correct. Well then that's settled. Chin-can spread his hands and sighed. Look, now that I've also lost, I'm the one who has lost face. Everyone has forgotten about you, Yehaoming. Hasn't your aim been achieved? Yehaoming, huh. So my aim isn't to make reparations to the association, but to have everyone forget my mistakes. Yehaoming was deep in thought. That seems to make sense. Look, I've ruined my reputation, drawing everyone's attention to me. Chin-can said seriously, isn't it considerate of me not to charge you extra for such a loss? So, Yehaoming was starting to waver. Thank you. Don't mention it, I have things to do. You can go home first. Chin-can nodded, pushing Yehaoming out of the door and then shut it with a bang. Phew. He took off his coat, revealing his pajamas beneath. With that intellect, I can swindle him 3 more times. Outside on his way home, Yehaoming suddenly stopped. Hold on, he scratched his head. What do you mean ruin your reputation? You didn't even fight, did you? Looking at Chin-can's house, which was already some distance away, Yehaoming stomped his foot in anger. How did I get conned again? This is the first chapter on the 27th, not the third one on the 26th. Chapter 251, 160, Boss Cat's Promise. Meow tilde. From now on, just follow me. After finishing the delicious food, Boss Cat started to speak in a low voice. Chirp. Follow you. The little one looked up with a thoughtful expression in its eyes. This big guy is also a transcendent being, but it can live alone in a human city. If I follow it, can I learn how to live in human cities too? Most importantly, learn how to earn money. That way, it could buy delicious human food for itself. With the lingering taste of the meal, the little one patted its belly with its wings, displaying a look of satisfaction. This kind of food is something it can't find in the beast field. It decided it would not leave until it had tried every kind of food available. Thinking of this, the little one nodded its head. It'll follow this big guy for a while. Meow tilde. Let's go, I'll take you where I live. Upon seeing the little one agreeing to follow it, Boss Cat showed a satisfied expression. It led the little one deeper into the alleyway, all the while chatting. Meow tilde. We will go to the Starfare foster care shop for a wash and protection when it reopens. Chirp. Wash and protection. The little one tilted its head and trailed behind Boss Cat, anticipation in its eyes. During its 3 days of exploring human cities, it had become familiar with the concept of pet beast foster shops. They were places where human beast masters temporarily placed their pet beasts, which provided various services for the beasts. They gave baths to the pet beasts, even trained them. In the beast field, only the offspring of the beast king received such treatment. They were served by water attribute transcendent beings, who bathed them, and various transcendent beings, helping them improve their skill proficiency. Here, every single pet beast could enjoy that. Having escaped from the core zone of the beast field, it had been a long time since it had been served by a water attribute transcendent being. Its white feathers had become dull due to the dust, causing it significant discomfort. Thinking that as an offspring of the beast king, it could be served by humans, a flicker of contentment rose in the little one's heart. Such an experience, its other siblings surely wouldn't have had. Chirp. How much does the washing and protection cost? Treat it as a loan from me. I will pay you back once I have earned money. It also remembered the 20 pieces it owed Boss Cat for the food. Once it learned to make money, it would definitely pay back at the first chance. It, the little princess of the beast field, would never owe someone. Meow tilde. Don't worry about the cost of washing and protection. That shop offers it for free to stray pet beasts. Chirp. Stray pet beasts. Meow tilde. Adrift ones like us. So in human cities, they refer to creatures like Boss Cat as stray pet beasts. The little one's azure eyes sparkled with thought. If that's the case, then from now on it too was a stray pet beast. Chirp. Why does the shop offer free services to us? The little one couldn't help but ask, driven by curiosity. In the past few days, it had noted that money was very important to humans, needed for everything from food to clothing, housing, and commuting. As the washing and protecting services should cost money, wouldn't the human shop owner suffer a huge loss by providing it for free? A sense of amusement flickered in Boss Cat's eyes as it explained how the Starfair foster care shop could afford to give stray pet beasts free services. Upon hearing this, the little one's eyes began to fill with yearning and hope. So they offer these services for free so stray beasts can find suitable beast masters, making them look good. Such beings truly exist among humans. Indeed, its parent was wrong. Boss Sue, are you really going to open a branch in Xian City? Upon their return to the hotel, Sue Xiaoxiao gazed at Sue Ran with reluctance. Does this mean you won't be returning with us tomorrow? Not at all, Sue Ran responded, baffled. The branch in Xian City won't open for a while. I'll of course return to Qingju City first. All right then. Hearing Sue Ran's words, Sue Xiaoxiao seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. If she was no longer able to train and receive services at Sue Ran's shop, it would be disastrous. Once the new branch is open, Boss Sue, will you stay in Qingju City or move to Xian City? Gu Ling curiously asked. Sue Ran stroked his chin. I haven't thought about it yet, but I'll probably move to Xian City. After spending several days in Xian City and seeing the difference between a second-level town and a third-level town, Sue Ran felt increasingly confident about his decision to expand into the bigger city. He'd already reached B level in plucking fur, but so far had only received a 3-star skill from Gu Wu, because only Gu Wu had such a skill amongst all those who brought their beasts to his shop in Qingju City. Moreover, Gu Wu mostly brought his beasts for training, not washing and protection. Although his shop offered services for king stage beasts, he had not served a single king-level beast master since none were in Qingju City. In contrast, consider Xian City. The number of general-level beastmasters was in the triple digits, and there were 18 king-level beastmasters. Treating these high-level beastmasters at his shop would yield a higher profit. And let's not forget about the evolution materials for the 3 little ones. It would be extremely difficult to gather these in Qingju City, whereas Cancan was lucky enough to gather all she needed during a single trip to Xian City. Chapter 252-160, Boss Cat's Promise. All evidence suggested that moving development from Qingju City to Xian City was a choice Sue Ran had to make. While he had many old friends in Qingju City, it wasn't as if he couldn't go back. If Gu Wu could traverse the beast field all by himself, once Sue Ran broke through to the 4th stage of contract power, he naturally could too. By then, a trip back to Qingju City wouldn't take much time. He even worried about his future lottery draws being cursed without Liu Gu around. So Boss Sue, what about the shop in Qingju City if you leave? Sue Xiaoxiao suddenly thought of something, her face changing to a peculiar expression. Wouldn't all the work be left to teacher Tony? Not necessarily. Sue Ran shook his head slightly. I will still hire 2 more shop assistants later, who will be responsible for the shop in Qingju City with teacher Tony. So, Sue Xiaoxiao cautiously asked, the 2 new shop assistants you're hiring won't be like teacher Tony, will they? Sue Ran. Sue Xiaoxiao's words silenced him. He really didn't know about that. The system shouldn't be that unreasonable, right? Since it's random, he should get a more normal shop assistant next time, right? Even if the second one was still abnormal, there was still a 3rd new shop assistant. He refused to accept that out of 3 system shop assistants, none would be normal. We will, Sue Ran took a deep breath. There has to be 1 normal shop assistant. That's good. Unaware of what kind of shop assistant Sue Ran, who didn't even know what he might get himself, would hire, Sue Xiaoxiao felt reassured and let out a sigh of relief under the impression that Sue Ran had promised her. All she worried about was 3 Tony-style shopkeepers taking over the storefront. Being reassured about this, she felt at ease. After Su-ran explained the situation, the others left one after another. Tomorrow, they will be heading back to Kingju City. Most of the group were visiting Xi'an City for the first time, so they naturally wanted to get a good look at the grandeur of the big city and bring back some local products. Su-ran had the same plan. Even though he had strolled around the bustling streets the day before, it didn't mean he couldn't continue shopping with his 3 little ones. The repercussions brought by defeating the leadership-level beast masters of Xi'an City didn't even cross Su-ran's mind, as he spent half the day leisurely strolling around. The next morning, as they exited the majestic city gate of Xi'an City, the red-eyed demon dragon soared into the sky, carrying Su-ran and the others, all heading back towards Kingju City. Finally home. After a day's journey, Su-ran, along with the 3 little ones, eventually returned to the foster shop, bidding the others farewell at the square in front of the Beast Master Association in Kingju City. Welcome home, Tilda, brother Tilda. Looking at Tony, who was holding a pink heart-shaped cake with candles lit on it, and winking at him from inside the shop, Su-ran tersely shut the door with a pang, in silence. System, please don't let the future shop assistants be like this. Reopening the door and bracing himself against Tony's reproachful eyes, Su-ran took a deep breath. How's everything in the shop since I've been gone? Everything is fine, Tony smiled. The fostered pet beasts have been eating well, Tilda. All right, I understand. Su-ran rubbed his temples. Now that I'm back, let's get back to normal operations. No problem, boss. Tony winked at Su-ran. Are you really not going to taste the special heart cake I prepared? The 4 candles represent the 4 days you were absent because... He suddenly made a heart shape with his hand towards Su-ran. The days without you feel like years, Tilda. Has it really been 4 days since I last saw Tony? Su-ran reflected in silence. Perhaps this was why his resistance to Tony had weakened. I'll eat the cake later. You go and take care of the training area first. Sighing inwardly, Su-ran accepted the cake and waved Tony away. Okay, boss. I've already finished feeding the fostered pet beasts for you this morning, Tilda. Tony stepped lightly and entered the back door. Su-ran casually dug a piece of cake and put it in his mouth. Tony's culinary skills are really good. You 3 have a try too. It's Tony's well-intentioned gesture after all. The 3 little ones looked at each other, tentatively tasted it, then their eyes lit up. It didn't take long for them to devour the cake. He pushed open the door of the shop, hanging up the business sign. After a 4-day hiatus, Starfare Foster's shop resumed operations. After consuming the cake, the 3 small beasts quickly slipped off to the training area. Having spent 4 days without training in the training area, they were very uncomfortable. They vowed to work harder to make up for the previous training volume. The previously much more powerful Xi'an now felt a slight crisis with Star's evolution and advance. It was the first pet beast to make a contract with Su-ran, arriving at the foster shop the earliest. If the upcoming Star was to surpass her, how could she allow Star to call her big sister? Therefore, on the new day of training, Xi'an changed her usual routine of training a bit and then being idle a bit. The frequency of training significantly increased. As for Star, who just advanced, she also broke through to the leadership stage. There is too much room for her to improve. She was always the most hardworking one in the team and would not slack off at this moment. And then there's Can. After fighting the day before yesterday, her heart set a big goal. For the first time, she didn't need Xi'an and Star to urge her before she took the initiative to rush to the Earth Attribute training area for tough training. While sitting in the shop waiting for customers to come, Su-ran felt the 3 little ones' tremendous enthusiasm. A gratified smile appeared on his face. The pet beast's hard work is also a kind of incentive for him. He needs to work hard for the business to gather resources for them. So why have the customers not yet come? Perhaps it was because business was suspended for 4 days, and many customers did not know that the Starfare Foster shop had started operating again. Almost half an hour passed with no customers coming in. This was rarely the case once Starfare got popular. However, Su-ran didn't have to wait too long. An unexpected figure appeared at the shop door. Boss Cat, how did you get here? Seeing the sturdy figure outside the door, Su-ran showed a smile. Here for washing and maintenance. It's all yours now, no customers yet. Meow Tilda. Not washing and protecting me. Boss Cat shook his head slightly. Not here for washing and protection, Su-ran blinked, Then you. Tweetilda. An unfamiliar voice interrupted him. Emma? Looking around, Suran's face showed confusion. Where did the sound come from? The next second, he saw a small white head cautiously peeking out from the top of Boss Cat's head, looking at him. Meow Tilda. It's him who needs washing and protection. Boss Cat's eyes were filled with laughter. He grabbed the little one hiding behind him with both paws, held him in his palms, and slowly handed it to Suran. Only then did Suran get a clear look at the little one who had just made the noise. It was a bird pet beast about the size of a football. Unlike ordinary birds, it had thick white fur all over. A pair of purplish-black little claws lethargically dangled in front of its belly, aided by the elevation from Boss Cat. It had 2 wings that did not match its body size, fluttering occasionally but powerless to lift it. 2 white long feathers sprang up from its eyebrows, the tips of which were dyed blue, the only non-white area in its fur. What attracted Suran the most were its 2 sea-blue eyes, which shone like sapphires, and a glance was enough to lose oneself in them. After making eye contact with Suran, the little one tilted its head, raised a wing to block its front, and opened its pinkish-blue beak. Tweetilda. Sorry, I was lost in thought. Suran shook his head, snapping back to reality. So it's this little guy who needs washing and maintenance, right? Twee. The little one nodded vigorously, her eyes filled with anticipation. Suran nodded and took another look at the little creature in front of him. As of today, he has seen many different kinds of pet beasts. However, he still couldn't quite tell what breed the stray pet beast was. So a system identification is necessary. Race name Velvet Sparrow. Attribute super ability. Growth stage elite stage. Body type small size. Maintenance need. Evaluation, a princess in distress who needs to be comforted with skilled hands. There's a bonus chapter after 0 points. Have you got your monthly pass ready? Chapter 253, 161, Boss Cat's New Life. The Distressed Princess. Looking at the system's description, Suran's mouth twitched slightly. What kind of description was this? The system probably had its regular glitches. Shaking his head slightly, Suran picked up the Velvet Sparrow, then couldn't help but stroke it a few more times with his hand. It feels so good. Unlike regular bird pet beasts, the Velvet Sparrow has long, dense down feathers covering most of its body, including its wings, except for 2 long feathers on its head. This type of down is only found on the bellies of typical birds. This gave the Velvet Sparrow an extremely pleasant texture. Looking at the dirt on the surface of the Velvet Sparrow's body, Suran's eyes filled with amusement. Let's go for a wash. Once it's clean, this little guy will feel even better. Chirp. The Velvet Sparrow's chirp was full of anticipation for the washing and grooming. Having been pampered from an early age, it naturally liked to be clean. Since slipping out of the core zone of Beast Field, it had been filthy and was growing somewhat impatient. Now, it could finally clean itself up. One couldn't help but wonder if human washing and grooming were better than the water attribute beasts that had served it in the Beast Field. Watching both man and pet enter the grooming room, a smile appeared in Boss Cat's eyes. It walked familiarly to the rest area, took out an old plush cushion from its backpack and spread it on the sofa. Then, it sat upright and waited quietly for the Velvet Sparrow's washing and grooming to be finished. Wait a minute, okay. After gently placing the Velvet Sparrow on the grooming platform prepared for small pet beasts, Suran went to a control panel nearby and began pre-cleaning preparations. Resources beneficial to the skin and fur and super ability attribute minerals with cleansing effects were added to the corner grinder by Suran, ground into fine, evenly rounded particles, and mixed with the cleaning sand. Sand bath, not a water bath, was the best grooming method for the Velvet Sparrow due to its unique fur structure. Soon, Suran picked up a basin filled with a special tailor-made bath sand, 1 meter in diameter, and placed it in front of the Velvet Sparrow. Jump in and have a roll. Chirp. The Velvet Sparrow blinks its eyes, showing a puzzled expression. As a little princess of the Beast Field, what spectacle hadn't it seen? It really hadn't seen the spectacle in front of it. Bathing, isn't it supposed to be with water? Jumping into a basin full of sand and having a roll around. Wouldn't it get even dirtier? It couldn't help but glance at Suran again. The previous account by Boss Cat of Suran and the Starfare foster care shop came to its mind. This human shouldn't harm it, right? Or else should it ask? As it thought, the azure in the bottom of the velvet sparrow's eyes became increasingly brilliant. A voice abruptly appeared in Su-Ran's mind. Human, can this really clean me? Will I not become dirtier the more I wash? Huh? With a bit of surprise, Su-Ran looked at the velvet sparrow. Was this the super ability attribute of mind induction? Having previously trained a customer's super ability attribute pet beast in this skill, Su-Ran was not unfamiliar with it. The effect of mind induction is straightforward. It allows for unimped obstruction to communicate with all conscious beings. Although it is only a one-star skill in the super ability attribute, it cannot be mastered through postnatal teaching and can only appear as a talent skill. Its prevalence is not high, so not many super ability attribute pet beasts possess it. But any super ability attribute pet beast with mind induction has one characteristic. It is that its intelligence is slightly higher than other transcendent beings at the same level. Why had an elite stage transcendent being with mind induction and superior intelligence become a stray pet beast? He would have to ask Boss Cat when he went outside later. But now he should answer this little creature's question first. Don't worry, the size of the sand grains are just right. They can penetrate deep into the crevices of your fur during the rolling process and remove the dirt on your fur through friction. Since they are heavy, they will not stick to your body. Looking at the velvet sparrow, who was appearing pensive, Su-Ran paused before adding, "Your fur is not suitable for washing with water, trust me." Is that so? The velvet sparrow's doubtful expression gradually faded. It sounded quite reasonable. Could it be that all its water attribute pet beasts had been mistaken? If that's the case, it should give it a try. Chirp, here I come. Having made its decision, the velvet sparrow wobbled its way to the basin. It flapped its tiny wings and jumped, grabbing the edge of the tub. Then, turning its back to the bath, it promptly collapsed into the tub. Dwang tilde. The velvet sparrow's entire body fluttered like waves, and the bath sand it shook up quickly fell back into the basin without stirring up any dust, just as Su-Ran had said. What an interesting sensation. Savoring the icy cold bath sand snug against the downy fur on its back, and the crushed super ability attribute resources emanating a distinct and comforting super ability attribute power, the velvet sparrow's azure eyes closed satisfactorily. Then, it tentatively rolled within the bathtub. Each of the long, slender down feathers passed through the gaps in the bath sand. The bath sand, acting like a super-fine comb, glided over the down feathers, removing loose fur and tiny dirt particles stuck to the down feathers. The velvet sparrow's eyes bulged. This sensation. Although bathing with the water attribute pet beasts made it feel refreshed afterward, it felt heavy during the bath and as if it couldn't fly. Chapter 254, 161, Boss Cat's New Life. Oh, it couldn't fly in the first place. Now trying a sand bath for the first time, the velvet sparrow felt like it had opened the door to a new world. Simply turning its body over, it felt lighter than before. After a thorough wash, wouldn't it be able to fly up to the sky? Having tasted the benefits, the velvet sparrow began to eagerly roll around in the bath sand on its own without Su-Ran prompting. Rolling and rolling tilde. Seeing the little critter's enthusiasm, Su-Ran suddenly smiled, then turned to start prepping for the second step in the process. It's insufficient to only use bath sand for cleansing. The velvet sparrow's down was slightly dry and not smooth enough on the surface. It needed further care and beautification. So, very soon, Su-Ran appeared with a bowl. In the bowl was a light pink, jelly-like substance. Okay, stop rolling around. Tweet, okay. The velvet sparrow stopped its motion, rolled its body around so that its front was facing upwards, and then gave a somersault to stand up in the tub. After shaking its body a little, the remaining bath sand in its feathers was easily shaken off, and compared to before the care routine, the velvet sparrow now looked much cleaner, without any grime stuck to its feathers. Tweet, what's next? At the sight of the bowl in Su-Ran's hand, curiosity and anticipation filled the velvet sparrow's eyes. Treatment, Su-Ran replied with a hint of a smile on his face. This was the first time he had to explain such procedures to the pet beast he was grooming. In the past, it was the beast masters of the pet beasts who asked the questions, and he would clarify their doubts. Your down is a bit dried out and split. That's because you've been washing with water frequently before too frequently. In fact, that often prevented your plumage's natural oils from doing their job. This gel here can moisturize your down and make it smoother. What a marvelous human. The velvet sparrow gave Sue-Ran a surprised look. All it took was one glance, and Sue-Ran could tell it had been washing with water. But washing frequently. The velvet sparrow pondered on this. Did a once-a-day bath actually count as washing too frequently? The grooming humans give transcendent beings is way more comprehensive than what's done in the beast field. Having had previous experience, the velvet sparrow now believed in Sue-Ran's words without question. It willingly approached him, closed its eyes, held its head up high, and waited for Sue-Ran's next move. Seeing the obedient velvet sparrow, Sue-Ran nodded with satisfaction, then used a soft brush to apply the gel evenly on the down of the velvet sparrow's body, making sure each and every feather was thoroughly moisturized and cared for. Each follicle on the velvet sparrow sprouted over 10 down feathers. As Sue-Ran brushed the gel over it, the slight ticklish feeling followed from the down to the follicles, and then from one follicle to another, combining to create a ticklish sensation that grew tenfold, becoming crisp and intense. The velvet sparrow's eyes, which had been closed, couldn't resist peeking at Sue-Ran. This unprecedented sensation made the velvet sparrow twist its body involuntarily. It felt so relaxing. So was this what grooming was all about? As the area covered by Sue-Ran's gel application expanded, the ticklish sensation from the previous area hadn't completely subsided before the next appeared. The velvet sparrow's body ceased its writhing, replaced by a slight shivering. It felt as if its body was becoming increasingly light, as if the open sky itself was beckoning it. It seemed like a simple flap of its wings would allow it to actually fly up high. A melancholic low hum was squeezed out from the throat of the velvet sparrow. Tweet tilde. Click tilde. The door to the grooming room opened. Boss Cat, who had been sitting with his eyes closed in the rest area, quickly opened his eyes and stepped out to look at the grooming room. In Sue-Ran's palm was a pure white small fur ball, without a hint of other hues, whose 2 feathers on top of its head turned from white to blue, appearing adorably beautiful under the sun. The only unchanging feature was its bright sapphire eyes, which were as deep as the ocean. If the velvet sparrow's most attractive feature before was its eyes, then now, its soft, silky down was equally captivating. The grooming is complete, Sue-Ran smiled, gently setting down the velvet sparrow. Given its appearance, I imagine it'll find a suitable beast master pretty soon, right? On hearing Sue-Ran's words, Boss Cat scratched his head and looked at the velvet sparrow, an expression of helplessness on his face. Despite enjoying the little fellow's company, Boss Cat naturally hoped that the velvet sparrow would find a good home. Over the past few days, he had made attempts to introduce the velvet sparrow to beast masters in need of a contract pet beast. Those beast masters did indeed love the velvet sparrow. They really wanted to make a contract with it. But the velvet sparrow wasn't interested, even a bit resistant to that idea. Therefore, finding a suitable beast master, for it wouldn't be as easy as it seems. The freshly cleaned velvet sparrow also shook its head vigorously. Because it couldn't tell where it came from, it had to pretend to be a stray pet beast, but it absolutely couldn't have a contract with a human beast master. The velvet sparrow looked up at Sue-Ran, quickly changing the subject. Chirp tilde, human, your grooming skills are excellent. I'll come here every day. Every day? Sue-Ran's mouth twitched slightly. Didn't I mention before, grooming shouldn't be too frequent? Considering your situation, if you're not especially dirty, grooming once every 20 days should be enough. Chirp, that long? The velvet sparrow looked disappointed. Having to wait 20 days to take a bath and bask in that wonderful sensation was quite a letdown. Boss Cat, who was standing to the side, glanced at Sue-Ran and then looked at the disappointed velvet sparrow. He raised a paw to scratch his chin, his expression thoughtful. Meow tilde. He patted Sue-Ran's shoulder, pointed at the velvet sparrow, and then pointed at the shop. Huh? A look of astonishment graced Sue-Ran's face. You want me to keep it? Chirp, let me stay here. A similar look of astonishment appeared on the velvet sparrow's face. It hadn't expected Boss Cat to suggest such a thing. Even though it enjoyed its time here and had fun spending 2 days with Boss Cat, it felt somewhat reluctant to part with him at the moment. Meow meow tilde. Boss Cat motioned for the velvet sparrow to help with the translation, then strung a series of words together. A moment later, Sue-Ran understood his meaning. Did you meet this velvet sparrow just these past 2 days? He stroked his chin and glanced at the velvet sparrow. Before meeting it, All the other stray pet beasts had already found homes, so you no longer had any obligations. Next, you want to change your lifestyle, so you hope that I can keep the velvet sparrow and help it find a suitable beast master in the future. Meow tilde. Boss Cat nodded. He had been trying to find a beast master for the velvet sparrow these past 2 days also because of this reason. He had already planned to start a new life, but unexpectedly ran into this little fellow. Naturally, he had to make sure it was taken care of before he could feel at ease. The velvet sparrow, who had been acting as a translator and listening to their conversation, looked at Boss Cat, its gaze filled with more reluctance and even a bit of guilt. It turns out, the big guy was being held back because of it. Since that's the case, let it stay then, Suran nodded. Even if he agreed just for Boss Cat's sake, this was a favor he had to carry out. Meow. Boss Cat nodded excitedly, opened his waist pouch, and was about to take out some money. Hey, no need. Suran shook his head vigorously and grabbed Boss Cat. You're still living in a human city, you're going to need money. Meow tilde. Boss Cat glanced at the price menu on the wall and seemed hesitant. Indeed, boarding fees were quite expensive. Starfare Foster had been grooming stray pet beasts for free, which already made it feel a bit guilty. If it doesn't pay for boarding the velvet sparrow, it'd feel even worse. Chirp, you don't have to pay, I'll pay for myself. As it watched the man and cat arguing, the velvet sparrow suddenly spoke up. It looked at Suran, contemplated for a moment, and then spoke. Chirp, you're a beast master, right? Indeed. Suran nodded and released Boss Cat. Actually, you don't even need to pay. The velvet sparrow shook its head. It didn't like taking advantage of people. Even though it didn't have any money, it had something else. I'll tell you a secret about the evolution of transcendent beings in exchange. Happy Mid-Autumn Festival. Let's get cracking on the second chapter charge. Chapter 255, 162, The Mysterious Velvet Sparrow. The Secret of Evolution. Suran's expression faltered slightly. What do you mean? He indeed hadn't intended to ask for money, but now that the velvet sparrow had offered this as a barter, he was genuinely intrigued. At the same time, a bizarre feeling welled up in Suran's heart. During the recent wash and protection process, the velvet sparrow had demonstrated a manner of speaking entirely different from other stray pet beasts, and now it mentioned the secret of evolution. Wasn't this information a stray pet beast shouldn't possess? Well, he might as well listen to what it had to say. The velvet sparrow looked around cautiously and whispered in a low voice. Chirp tilde, to evolve from a leader species into a king species, something called a transcendence flower, a kind of resource, is needed. Without it, the success rate would drop significantly. Huh? Suran was truly surprised now. He had already confirmed the benefit of the transcendence flower for evolution through the evolutionary paths of his 3 pet beasts. What Velvet Sparrow said was not incorrect. This also proved that this little thing really had some understanding of evolution. So the question arose. What was the background of this stray pet beast, Boss Cat, that he'd only met a few days ago? Chirp, is this secret enough? Seeing Suran's surprised expression, the Velvet Sparrow held its head high with a sense of accomplishment. That's enough. Suran hastily nodded and then asked, Velvet Sparrow, can you tell me where you come from and why you know all this? The Velvet Sparrow's triumph froze on its face. Damn, too impulsive. No, it couldn't reveal its true identity now. A flicker of thought crossed the eyes of the Velvet Sparrow, and it quickly came up with a plan. Its sapphire blue eyes welled with tears. As it wiped the tears with its little wing, it also began to whine tearfully. Chirp tilde, I was orphan when I was very young. I was discarded outside the city and almost died there. I barely made it back to the city. These are things I heard when I was outside the city. Chirp achoo. An odd sneeze echoed for a long while in a lush, dense forest. A hint of a terrifying aura seeped out from the depth of the forest, causing the transcendent beings living around the forest's perimeter to shrink back in fear. Chirp tilde. Continue. Deep in the forest, a colossal bird with white feathers tinged with a bit of purple blue and a wingspan of over 30 meters began to inhibit its domineering aura, looking at its subordinate shivering below. The subordinate gathered its courage and continued to report. Ao tilde. My lord, we have not found the 12th princess yet. After speaking, it pressed its head firmly into the ground, not daring to lift it up. The 12th princess was the king's most beloved daughter, said to be extraordinarily gifted. Now that the 12th princess had disappeared, one could easily imagine the king's rage. It could only hope that it could leave in one piece after making the report. Above, where the subordinate's gaze couldn't reach, a peculiar look flickered in the eyes of the colossal bird. After a moment of silence, it slowly spoke. Chirp tilde. Continue the search. Upon hearing the king's calm voice, the subordinate's transcendent creature was stunned for a moment, followed by relief and jubilation. The king actually didn't hold it accountable. Even when his beloved daughter was missing, he remained so calm. It's no wonder that the king was considered among the most strategic of the 6 kings. It quickly nodded its head, turned around without saying a word, its eyes filled with determination. This time, it would certainly find the 12th princess for the king. Watching its subordinate leave, the colossal bird folded its wings and gently landed on a tree trunk. Its eyes revealed sorrow as it stared in the direction of Kingju City. Orphaned at a young age. The little cotton-padded jacket had a hole in it. Is that so? Listening to Velvet Sparrow sob out its miserable past, Suran couldn't help but sigh. It seemed he'd misunderstood. This was a poor little creature, too. It had been abandoned by humans outside the city, so it was understandable why it would resist contract beast masters. Super creatures living outside the city were capable of evolving into beast kings or beast emperors, so they must know about evolution, possibly even more than humans. That they'd be aware of the transcendence flower was not surprising. The Velvet Sparrow, overhearing some of it, was quite plausible. That's all right, it's all in the past now. Suran patted Velvet Sparrow's head gently with a look of sympathy. You can stay here from now on. Looking on the bright side, the Velvet Sparrow could also serve as a translator for him after it settles down. When he encountered pet beasts he couldn't communicate with, it would come in handy. Great! The Velvet Sparrow cheered internally, admiring its improved acting skills. With an innocent expression, it wiped away its fake tears. After observing human cities for a few days, it had realized that if it wanted to survive in a human city without attracting trouble, it would be challenging. With food and accommodation sorted, it considered its major problem resolved. I will take you to the foster area later to settle you in. Without any suspicion, Suran turned to Boss Cat after making this remark. As for you, how do you plan to live? Do you need my help? Meow tilde. No need. Boss Cat shook its head and simply shared its plan. In short, it intended to join a hunting squad in Kingju City as one of its members, occasionally marching out of the city with the squad to clean up wild super creatures. Being a pet beast at the leader stage, Boss Cat was quite powerful. Now that there were no stray pet beasts needing its help, it was a waste for it to just loiter around in the city daily. Upon understanding Boss Cat's words through the Velvet Sparrow's translation, Suran's expression grew increasingly strange. Chapter 256, 162, The Mysterious Velvet Sparrow. Having spent so much time with Boss Cat, he started feeling that this big fellow didn't act much like a pet beast, but rather like a human being. If he wanted to join a hunting squad, how about I introduce you to one? Suran tentatively suggested. Meow. Boss Cat blinked, then quickly nodded. It was worried about which hunting squad to join. After all, it had never dealt with a hunting squad before. Wait a moment. Suran quietly picked up his phone and dialed Zhang Yun. Hey, team leader Zhang, is your tiger hunting squad short of men? No, short of beasts, I mean. A leadership stage furious battle cat. Oh, okay, come on over. On the other side, Zhang Yun, who was currently gobbling up noodles at a street stall, put down his chopsticks. He let out a hearty laugh to the astonishment of the fellow diners. Check, please. A moment later, watching the departing backs of Zhang Yun and Boss Cat, Suran couldn't help but smile. He knew everyone from the tiger hunting squad well, and he was certain that they would get along with Boss Cat just fine. With Boss Cat, a leadership stage creature, the tiger hunting squad would be even more formidable and less prone to dangerous situations. In this way, Lucky Liu would also be safe, making it easy for himself to opportunistically soak up some luck in the future. It was a win-win solution. Let's go, I will show you around downstairs. Suran, accompanied by the Velvet Sparrow, went down the passageway behind the back door. Chirp, is the place I'm staying below here? The Velvet Sparrow curiously looked all around, and when it reached the foster area, its eyes widened. Chirp, it's so big. This area is yours from now on. Suran quickly assigned the sparrow its area, making it into a living area suited for a super ability attribute creature that aligned with its living habits. Seeing the velvet sparrow's satisfied expression, Suran nodded in agreement. Is there anything else you need? Chirp, can I leave the shop and wander outside? The velvet sparrow looked at him, a hopeful and satisfied look in its eyes. Of course, Suran nodded. When you want to go out, just follow the path we just went down. I won't limit your movements, but... He paused for a moment. Remember to come back for meals. Chirp, okay. The velvet sparrow's eyes spiked with excitement. With free food and lodging and the liberty to roam around and familiarize itself with the city of humans, life couldn't get any better. Go back to the beast field, not even a bit interested. Today it wouldn't venture out. The velvet sparrow looked at the living areas of the other foster care residents. It had to take a good tour around here. After settling down the velvet sparrow, Suran stretched lazily and returned to the storefront. To his surprise, there was a new customer waiting at the store. From his silhouette, he seemed to be a young boy. At the moment, he was staring at the price menu, deep in thought. Hello, seeing the unfamiliar face, Suran immediately brightened up and walked over. How can I assist you? I heard from friends that your shop has the best washing and protection services in Kingju City. Is that true? The young boy turned to look at Suran, his face serious and cautious. I wouldn't say we're the best, Suran modestly replied, then paused for a beat. But none of our customers have ever been unsatisfied with our washing and protection services. That's good. The young boy nodded, then hesitated before asking, do you accept all types of pet beasts for washing and protection here? We accept any pet beast as long as it's not larger than super large size, and its growth stage is not higher than the king stage. Curiosity flickered in Suran's eyes as he listened to the boy's question. Does your pet have anything unusual about it? Yes, the young boy nodded. It meets the size and growth stage criteria, but... The youngster's eyes suddenly dimmed a bit. It's dying. Then you should find a place with treatment capabilities. Suran's gaze became more solemn. Washing and protection cannot treat the injuries of a pet beast. No, Hugh is not injured. The youngster shook his head slightly. Its lifespan has reached its end. The lifespan has reached its end. A look of astonishment appeared on Suran's face. The lifespan of transcendent beings is not short. Depending on the species, their lives vary in length. However, they live longer than ordinary creatures, and their lifespan continues to increase as their growth stage rises. In this era, the majority of transcendent beings die because of serious injuries that have not been cured. Very few live a long, healthy life to die of old age. May I ask, what's the situation with the pet beast named Hugh? Suran couldn't help asking. All right. The boy nodded, hesitated for a moment as if organizing his words, and then slowly started to speak. When I was born, Hugh was already very old. The story about it was told to me by my father. Many, many years ago, it was the pet dog of my great-grandfather. Great-grandfather? Suran gasped. Going back several hundred years to my father's ancestors, no wonder its lifespan has reached the endpoint. Then, Hugh accidentally underwent a change and became a transcendent being. My great-grandfather, however, did not have the talent for taming beasts. There was a hint of nostalgia in the boy's eyes. My great-grandfather thought about entrusting it to one of his friends, but Hugh was devoted to my great-grandfather. Even if it couldn't become his pet beast, it never left his side. Because there was no beast-taming contract, Hugh advanced all the way without any restrictions, breaking through to the leadership stage. My great-grandfather was not a beast master, but because he had Hugh, even elite-level beast masters dared not offend him. Later, my great-grandfather passed away. The boy sighed. Hugh stopped eating and drinking for half a month until it gradually accepted the reality. Since then, it has stayed with us, guarding my great-grandfather's descendants all the way to my generation. Many of my great-grandfather's descendants were beast masters. My father is even a leadership-level beast master. But everyone in our family respects Hugh and treats it like an elder. Now that its life is coming to an end, we've tried many ways to prolong its life, all to no avail. There's no hope of it evolving further given its current state. Transcendent beings have a premonition when their lives are about to end. Hugh has told us that it will leave us in 1 week. Our family no longer needs its protection. It can be at ease. The youngster shook his head slightly. So, I think, at least before it leaves this world, it should be done in a more dignified manner. Su Ran's expression gradually became solemn. I see, I understand now. Well, that's roughly the situation, so, Boss Su, can you do such washing and protection? The youngster raised his head, stared at Su Ran with hopeful eyes. Yes, Su Ran nods without hesitation, of course. And it's free of charge. Huh, the youngster blinked. There's no need for that, our family is quite wealthy, we can afford the cost of a washing and protection session. No, it's a token of my goodwill, Su Ran shook his head. The story of the dog-type pet beast named Huo Huo, guarding a family for 9 generations, touched him deeply. He didn't consider himself a philanthropist, but after hearing the other party's story, he wanted to do what he could. He decided to provide a free washing and protection service when Huo Huo's life was at its end. The boy stared into Su Ran's eyes, seemingly understanding his intentions, his eyes filled with gratitude. He took a step back and bowed slightly. Boss Su, I really can't thank you enough. It's my pleasure, Su Ran laughed. In 7 days, right? Do you need me to come to your place for the washing and protection? No need, the boy shook his head. Despite its old age, Huo Huo is a leadership stage pet beast. It can move by itself. That was its wish. Su Ran understood. Even at the very end of its life, it refused to show weakness. It was very eager to meet this pet beast called Huo Huo. The next chapter continues here. Chapter 257, 163, First Gathering of the 4 Little Ones. Meow Tilda, how's the effects of the milky bamboo stone root? Charming, brilliant, I feel my power growing so fast. Zailu Tilda, after all, this resource is worth 3,400 beast master points, more expensive than other resources. The 3 little ones who finished their A-Tower training regrouped inside the elevator connected to the foster area and the training zone, discussing the day's training. Following behind Xian and Star, Cancan's eyes were filled with anticipation for the future. Already 3 of its 5 talent skills have reached 3 stars. The remaining 2 talent skills and the taught skill, Dragon Power, are strong 2 stars. It only needs to merge another 2-star skill with each, and it can achieve the All Skills 3-star achievement. As for the All Skills Waning Moon level, no problem at all. In this way, all the evolution conditions can be completed, plus the evolution materials it already gathered. Charming. If all goes well after the next resource allocation, I'd be ready to evolve. The anticipation in Cancan's eyes deepened a few more shades. The milky bamboo stone root, as an expensive resource even among the martial level, boosts him greatly, an elite stage beast. By the time it evolves, it may have already reached the peak of the elite stage. Then, like Brother Star, it could complete the advancement during the evolution, jumping from the elite stage leader species to the leader stage king species, making a leap in quality and catching up with seniors Xian and Star. Meow Tilda, damn, I'm so envious Tilda. Xian, the first to complete the evolution, couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. It no longer remembered how many resource allocations it had been through since it started preparing for evolution, only that it had taken a long time. On the contrary, Cancan is almost ready to evolve after just 2 resource allocations. Zailu Tilda, indeed Tilda. Star nodded in agreement. Its evolution, like Ziyu's, also took a long time. The 2 beasts that had already evolved looked at each other, reaching a conclusion. Indeed, the early bird gets the worm, the latecomer gets the benefit. Hearing the words of the 2 seniors, Cancan scratched his head in embarrassment, aware that he had inadvertently given them a significant psychological shadow. He quickly looked around, attempting to change the subject. Upon looking, he indeed made a discovery about the foster area. Charming, who's that, a new resident? Cancan raised his paw and pointed to a small white furball wandering around. Zailu Tilda, we got an extra living area. The attentive Star quickly noticed the living area Su Ran had carved out for the velvet sparrow and pointed in that direction. Meow, shall we go over say hello? Reflected in Xian's heterochromatic eyes was the round-bodied velvet sparrow. Its interesting appearance piqued its interest. For some reason, looking at this guy, it suddenly felt an urge to pounce on it, hold it in its front paws, then kick it with its hind legs, slap it away, and then chase after it to repeat the kick. As it shook its head to squash this terrifying thought, Xian led the way to the velvet sparrow, with Cancan and Star following closely behind. Chirp Tilda, thanks for your answer, let's get along well from now on. Having greeted yet another pet beast, Velvet Sparrow nodded in satisfaction. After its departure, the blue glow in the eyes of the fire monkey standing in place silently faded. It then resumed its happy bouncing around the volcanic crater as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Velvet Sparrow turned its head and waddled towards another residential area in the foster area. Spent several hours, it was visiting the neighbors in the foster area. Velvet Sparrow was curious about the reason these neighbors came here. If it could learn from them the stories about their beast masters, that would be even better. Knowing more about them would help it understand human society more. Among the other residents of the foster area, some were very friendly, like the armored rhinoceros that happily rolled in the mud pond. It answered Velvet Sparrow's questions and even supplied the story of the shadow chaser lizard. However, some residents were not so accommodating. Like that fire monkey just now. Whenever this happened, Velvet Sparrow had to slightly exert its power. 2-star skill, full moon level order of no conquest. It subtly influenced others using super ability attribute power, altering their behavioral models without even they themselves noticing. This is the core skill of the Velvet Sparrow tribe, feared by countless transcendent beings in the core zone of the beast field. After upgrading this skill to full moon level at the elite stage, Velvet Sparrow could deal with any situation among peers. Of course, this power is not omnipotent. If the power difference between two is too great, the other can easily resist this influence. In that case, Velvet Sparrow just had to humbly admit its defeat. Before reaching the next residence area, Velvet Sparrow's steps halted. It saw 3 pet beasts approaching in its direction. 2 of them carried the aura of the leadership stage creatures. And one of them, a leader stage creature, seemed to bear faint malice towards itself. Has its identity been discovered? The heart of Velvet Sparrow tightened. Standing still, it anxiously watched the newcomers, assessing whether the other party was a friend or foe and how it should respond. Charming, are you the new resident who just moved in today? Can approached Velvet Sparrow boldly, even circled around it once, appeared curious about the little furball's power level. Chapter 258, 163, First Gathering of the 4 Little Ones. Chirp Tilda, yeah, where do you guys live? The Velvet Sparrow let out a small sigh of relief, followed by a curious inquiry. Zylu, its voice. Feeling the echoing voice in his mind, Star was taken aback. Meow Tilda, this is mind induction, I've seen it before. In contrast, Xian was much more composed. It extended its claw, contemplating batting at the Velvet Sparrow's plump body like a ball of yarn, but it quickly dispelled the idea and concealed its intention by licking its paw nonchalantly. Meow Tilda, we live upstairs in the shop. This guy was just about to tear me to shreds with one swipe, wasn't he? Absolutely. The Velvet Sparrow felt all its feathers puff up. It backed away cautiously in fear, then quickly realized what Xian said. They live upstairs in the shop. Chirp, is that also part of the foster area? Charming, we are Suran's pet beasts. Can denied it with a shake of her head and revealed a proud expression. Suran's pet beasts. Mulling over Can's words, the Velvet Sparrow was surprised. Could it be that the human who cleaned and cared for it was a leadership-level beast master? But on second thought, the Velvet Sparrow cautiously glanced at Xian. Since they are the boss's pet beasts, they shouldn't want to tear it up to pieces, right? Backing away a few more steps to stand next to Can, the weakest amongst the 3 little ones, the Velvet Sparrow felt a sense of safety. It then exhaled a breath of relief. Charming, why did your beast master send you here? Can curiously stretched out a claw to poke the Velvet Sparrow's smooth, plump body. She recognized it was because Suran had just cleaned it. Chirp Tilda, I don't have a beast master. The Velvet Sparrow shook its head, feeling slightly odd. It had been asking the other foster care residents the same question until now, and suddenly found itself on the receiving end. And it couldn't resist. Seeing Xian, the Velvet Sparrow timidly tucked in its head. Charming, no beast master. This increased Can's curiosity even further. Even Xian and Star appeared surprised. This was a unique situation amongst all the foster care residents. Normally, the beast masters brought their pet beasts for fosterage and paid the fees. If there was no beast master, who paid the foster fee? Zylu, who paid your foster fee? Star couldn't help but ask out of curiosity. Chirp, I paid for it myself. Upon mentioning this, The Velvet Sparrow puffed out its chest in short-lived defiance. Me the Velvet Sparrow, I paid for my own all-inclusive stay. Meow, you can earn money by yourself. Xian looked at the Velvet Sparrow, contemplating whether it should report the bird to Boss Cat for punishment if it earned money illicitly. Chirp Tilda, not money, it's a secret. Seeing Xian asking the question, the sturdy Velvet Sparrow retracted its head in fear. Thinking of the secret it shared with Su Ran, the Velvet Sparrow puffed its chest out again. It felt that it could stay tough for just a little while longer. Chirp, that secret is related to evolution. It will definitely help you guys evolve into the king species in the future. After saying this, the Velvet Sparrow couldn't help but glance at Xian. Apart from the Transcendence Flower, it knew another secret related to evolution. That is, the optimal stage for the leader species to complete its evolution is the elite stage. This frightening guy was already at the leadership stage. It may look impressive now, but it might not even be able to evolve once it becomes a king species in the future then. Chirp, haha. Charming, what secret? Xian and Star have both evolved, can you tell me about it? Hearing the Velvet Sparrow's words, the soon-to-be-evolved Can quickly became excited. The expression of complacency on the Velvet Sparrow's face solidified instantly. Chirp, you two are of the king species. Xian and Star looked at each other, quietly revealing the king's power. Feeling the overwhelmingly familiar power that was unique to the king species, the Velvet Sparrow staggered backwards, trembling like it had been struck by lightning. Ahatu. Maybe I should run away. Thinking about having to live under the same roof with such a terrifying creature in the future, the Velvet Sparrow suddenly felt a bit afraid. But considering the all-inclusive facilities, great environment, and the cleaning service this place offered, the Velvet Sparrow didn't really want to run away anymore. Damn it! Having noticed the unusual behavior of Velvet Sparrow, Star silently turned his head to glance at Xian. Xilu, big sister, it seems afraid of you. Meow Tilda, impossible, absolutely impossible. Xian shook her head vehemently. Charming, big sister is very easy to get along with. Can poked Velvet Sparrow with his paw, pondering how to prove this point, and finally spoke earnestly. Charming, every time she beats me up, my injuries always heal by the next day. That sounds even scarier. Velvet Sparrow's huge ocean blue eyes filled with tears. Charming, can you quickly tell me what's the secret of evolution? Still fixated on the secret mentioned by Velvet Sparrow, Can hurriedly urged. Chirp, it's just that evolution requires a transcendence flower. Charming, then there's no problem. Having heard that the secret mentioned by Velvet Sparrow was this, Can scratched his head, and the hopeful expression in his eyes gradually faded away. Charming, we already know this. Huh? What? Velvet Sparrow took another blow of disbelief, looking at the three little ones stunned. Chirp, you know. The three little ones nodded simultaneously. Yes, they've known about it for a while now. What's the use of just having the Transcendence Flower, which is only a supplementary material? The main material is the most important for evolution. Watching the three little ones' calm expressions, Velvet Sparrow went blank, hugging his head with tiny wings. Let it think about it. If they know, then as a beast master, Su Ran certainly also knows. And it just smugly revealed this secret. Oh yes? Velvet Sparrow covered his eyes in agony, rolling on the ground. Such a loss of face. Unable to resist, Can retreated 2 steps, came to the side of his big brother and big sister and began to whisper. Charming, what's wrong with it? After taking a glance, Star closed in on Can and whispered. Xilu Tilda, I'm not sure. I've heard that super ability type are often a bit neurotic. Could it be because of this? Meow, super ability type. Xian took a look at Velvet Sparrow, her paw itchingly rustling again. She didn't pay attention earlier, but after Star's reminder, she also sensed the power fluctuations particular to the super ability type in Velvet Sparrow. Oh, the itch. It said that super ability type and fighting type counter each other. Lately, she has only been beating up Earth attribute Can and hasn't fought with a super ability type yet. You've already met Velvet Sparrow, and Xian even scared it away. Looking at the three little ones lined up in front of him, Su Ran's expression became somewhat amused. Meeting the innocent face of Xian, Su Ran shook his head helplessly. Velvet Sparrow is a super ability type, Xian is a fighting type. These two types counter each other. Velvet Sparrow is a bird, Xian is a cat. Cats have been interested in birds since ancient times, it's racial oppression. And Velvet Sparrow also looks a lot like a ball of wool. He probably understood what happened. All right, don't mind it. Suran paused for a moment. It's pretty pitiful too. We can help keep an eye out for a suitable beast master for it. Find it a good place to go sooner rather than later. Hearing Suran's words, the three little ones nodded in agreement. Abandoned outside the city when she lost her parents at a young age, miraculously spared a life, almost starved to death when she returned to Kingju City if it wasn't for Boss Cat. Velvet Sparrow really had a tough life. By the way, Suran remembered another thing, his expression becoming a bit serious. In a week, we will attend a funeral together. Meow funeral. Yes, Suran nodded. It's a pet beast that has guarded a family for 9 generations. It will leave this world in a week, and I will perform a washing and protection for it before it passes. Because I offered to do the washing and protection for free. As a return, the owner invited me to attend its funeral. When the time comes, I'll take the 3 of you to see. Chapter 4, let's do it tomorrow with 3 updates. Chapter 259, 164, The Guardian's Funeral. Time in its inadvertent passing leaves traces of the years on everything, which no one can avoid or erase. It felt like just a moment, but a week has already passed. The day that Huo, the pet beast who agreed to come, has arrived. Early in the morning, Suran opened the shop door, but set up a temporarily closed today sign outside. To the customers who came to inquire, he politely declined them with a smile. The Starfair Foster Care Shop today opens for a special guest. The 3 little ones didn't rush into the training area for their daily 8-hour training. Instead, they accompanied Suran in the storefront on the first floor, waiting for the guest to arrive. Besides the 3 little ones, at another corner of the store counter that Xian likes the most, a velvet sparrow, the size of a soccer ball, lazily props its small paws on the counter, allowing the morning sunlight to fall on its soft, shiny fur. Its small paw moved a bit, and the velvet sparrow turned its head to look at Suran. Its voice naturally appeared in the minds of all living creatures in the store. Chirp, when are they coming? They should be here soon. Suran glanced at the clock on the wall and then at the velvet sparrow. Because of the decision to take in the velvet sparrow a week ago, the Starfair Foster Care Shop gained an additional little rascal. Unlike other fostered residents, the velvet sparrow is very curious about the outside world, spending 5 or 6 hours wandering outside every day before returning home in time for meals. Considering that the velvet sparrow had lived outside the city for a long time, Suran understood this and simply reminded it to be careful. However, as they spent more time together and he learned about the velvet sparrow's strength, he felt his reminders were somewhat redundant. As an elite-stage beast, the velvet sparrow, aside from not having a 3-star skill, could suppress Can-Can in various aspects, and even had a skill that had reached the full moon level. 2-star skill, Order of No Conquest. This skill, like psychological suggestion, could silently control others and was indeed horrifying if used nefariously. 2-star skill, Illusory Scenery. This skill could form false images, sounds, and breath fluctuations within a certain range around the velvet sparrow, misleading those outside of this range. Among the many illusion-type skills, the manifesting method of illusory scenery was quite special because it misled those outside its effective range, which meant it had a limitless effect range. However, this skill could be directly countered by Star's immortal star attraction. This made the velvet sparrow feel very embarrassed when its illusion was instantly uncovered by Star a few days ago, and it vowed secretly never to use this skill in front of Star again. 2-star skill, Shadow of Deterrence. This skill allowed the velvet sparrow to remember the breath and suppression of powerful beings 2 stages above them, and replicate it during critical moments, to achieve a shocking and influencing effect on the spiritual level when paired with superpower attributes Assault on Consciousness. Unlike illusory scenery, the essence of this skill was a mental attack, and thus Star's immortal star attraction could not crack it. 2-star skill, Soul Shatter Roar. This was solely a mental attack skill, as well as the velvet sparrow's only straightforward offensive skill. Currently, it was also the velvet sparrow's only skill that was at the starlight level. It was evident that it didn't prefer to be offensive. Finally, it had a skill that helped the velvet sparrow communicate effortlessly with other creatures. 1-star skill, Mind Induction. With these skills, It was virtually impossible for the Velvet Sparrow to encounter any danger in Kingju City unless it purposely caused trouble. Chirp Tilda, all right, let's wait a little longer. The Velvet Sparrow, waving its small paw, looked outside the shop door, anticipation sparkling in its eyes. After learning about today's event from Kankan 2 days ago, it had become intensely curious about the pet beast called Huo. Even after living in a human city for 10 days and seeing many deep bonds between pet beasts and human beast masters, it still found it hard to understand why, for the sake of a deceased human, a beast would voluntarily give up a freer life to protect the human's descendants day in and day out for hundreds of years. What's the meaning of such a gesture? So the Velvet Sparrow insisted on going along to see for itself, and hopefully get a chance to ask Huo in person, seeking to clarify its inner doubts. Suran didn't object to the Velvet Sparrow's participation. Having this beast act as a temporary translator was reasonable. After all, it was not being kept for nothing. Sure, Tilda, they're here. Kankan slightly raised her head, her eyes reflecting seriousness. After integrating the earthquake wave, her newly enhanced 3-star skill, echoing of Earth Vein, gave Kankan a wide range of detection abilities. With this detection ability, Kankan could sense a powerful but seemingly old creature, heading straight for the Starfare foster care shop. Are they here? Suran and the other 3 little ones quickly composed themselves, their expressions becoming more serious. A moment later, the heavy sound of footsteps arrived from outside the shop, gradually becoming clearer. A black dog-type pet beast, 5 meters long and enveloped in red flames, walked into the shop. Its black short hair was not sleek and shiny, but rather dotted with patches of brown, much like age spots left by overaging. Its figure was also slightly off, with somewhat atrophied muscles clinging to its bones. This caused what should have been a sleek and athletic being to appear thin and unhealthy. Chapter 260, 164 The Guardian's Funeral. Its long ears stood straight, but occasionally drooped for a moment before it struggled to lift them again. Even the crimson flame that surged around it appeared as if it was inadequately burning, presenting a thin and uneven color. Through its current state, Suran was able to see a glimpse of its former majesty and dominance. However, all these had been erased with the passage of time, leaving behind only an old, leadership stage pet beast at the end of its life. Behind it, the teenager named Du Ziyu, who had arrived a week ago, followed by a middle-aged man who bore striking facial resemblance to him, confirming its identity. So you must be Huo. Suran quickly rose from behind the counter, walking towards it, looking up slightly. Welcome. Woof Tilda. Huo lowered its head until it could look Suran in the eye. Its slightly cloudy eyes revealed a friendly expression as it nodded slightly. Bossu, please take care of her. Du Ziyu took a deep breath and spoke loudly. Compared to when he visited a week ago, his expression was much more serious at the moment, and there was a touch of sadness in his eyes that he couldn't hide. Bossu, I am Du Long. The middle-aged man who came with Du Ziyu spoke in a deep voice. I was also involved in the joint arrest of kidnappers in Kingju City that day, but unfortunately, we didn't meet, which is a pity. Thank you for Huo's matter. The middle-aged man spoke with a slight pause. I owe you a favor for this. Uncle Du, you're too polite. Suran smiled, then looked at Huo. Let's go, we'll do the grooming now. Woof Tilda. Huo nodded and followed closely behind Suran. Twee Tilda, it says it hopes you can make it look a bit more like it did in its youth. Velvet Sparrow jumped from the counter and quickly followed, translating the meaning of Huo's thoughts to Suran. The father and son of the Du family, who also heard the Velvet Sparrow's voice, were surprised, quickly followed by emotion. In Boss Su's shop, was there really a translator who mastered mind induction to better communicate with pet beasts? That's really considerate. Its youthful vigor. As he walked into the grooming room, Suran glanced at Huo, who was following closely by his side, with a hint of self-confidence in his eyes. Leave it to me. Click. With the closing of the grooming room's doors, the grooming session for Huo officially began. Outside the grooming room, Kankan seemed to have thought of something and suddenly spoke up. Well, why can't the 3 of us follow Suran but Velvet Sparrow can? The shop suddenly fell silent. The 3 little ones looked at each other and fell into silence. Yeah, why is that? Boom. Inside the grooming room, Suran evenly smeared the specially formulated nursing oil all over Huo's body, allowing the nursing oil to be lit by the red flames surging around Huo. It burned fiercely outside its body, emitting a deep roar. This seemingly fierce scene was, in fact, especially comforting for Huo. Within the flames, it slowly stood straight, its eyes full of relief. The once lustrous black fur became smooth and shiny again. Even the previous brown spots were changed back to black with the coloring agent that Su Ran had formulated, perfectly matching its original fur color. Atrophied muscles couldn't be replenished by grooming, but in Su Ran's adjustments and trimming of the fur, it no longer seemed so weak and old. It replicated Huo's previous state to the greatest extent possible. Its erect ears were implanted with invisible supports, returning them to their upright and lively state. As the nursing oil was completely burned away, the red flames surrounding Huo became more intense and concentrated. It was no longer a dying ember, but seemed to be in its prime again, full of vigor. Woof tilde. A powerful and short sound came from within the flames. The rejuvenated Huo's gaze became even brighter. It felt as if its body had regained its strength, as if it had really returned to its prime. Twee tilde. It says you are really good at grooming. It feels like it has really become younger. Velvet Sparrow looked up at Su Ran. Thank you, Su Ran spoke softly, but his eyes flashed with a hint of sadness due to Huo's words. He clearly knew that his grooming only changed Huo's external state. What really made it feel younger was the last resurgence of life. It didn't have much time left. The father and son Du of the Du family, who were also aware of this, had a deeper level of sadness in their eyes. Woof tilde. Looking at the people who had watched it grow up, with such sadness in their eyes, Huo slowly walked towards the father and son, with a hint of consolation in its eyes. It raised a paw to push open the door, then stepped out of the foster shop with firm strides. Follow it. Father and son of the Du family exchanged glances, silently following behind Huo. We should go and see. Su Ran closed the shop door, climbed onto Star's back, and as usual picked up the reduced can and placed it in front of him. Xian lay on Can's scale shell. Chirp tilde, take me with you. The Velvet Sparrow followed behind with a swaying gait, watching the one person and 3 pets prepared to leave. It became anxious all at once. This, Su Ran scratched his head, bent down to pick up the Velvet Sparrow and placed it on Can's scale shell too. All right, let's go. Velvet Sparrow. Looking at Xian, who was sitting just within reach, staring full of anticipation, an expression of utter despair gradually spread across its face. Just let me die, I'm tired. Xilulu tilde. Star emitted a neigh, then with nimble steps quickly followed behind Huo. Completely unfazed by those following behind, Huo walked steadily and powerfully. Even in its last moment of life, even the Grim Reaper temporarily halted its life-reaping scythe, allowing it to regain the agility of its prime. Step by step, it moved towards a certain direction. After recognizing this direction, a deeper sadness filled the eyes of the Du family father and son, who were following closely behind. That place is where the founder of the Du family, the original owner of Huo, was buried. Every once in a while, Huo would go there alone, sitting in front of the grave and becoming lost in its thoughts. And now it has evidently chosen the best final resting place for itself. As a graveyard appeared up ahead, Su Ran, who was following closely, also seemed to realize something. He inevitably let out a long sigh. What a loyal pet beast. Chirp, what's this place? The Velvet Sparrow heard Su Ran's sigh and couldn't help but become curious. If I'm not mistaken, this should be the grave of Huo's former owner, Su Ran spoke softly. A cemetery, huh? The Velvet Sparrow tiptoed and looked ahead. Time slowly passed. Huo, familiar with the cemetery, promptly reached a tomb that looked quite old but obviously had been well maintained. Its steady steps gradually slowed down. 1 step, 2 steps. Huo's movements became very gentle, as if worried about disturbing the person sleeping in the grave. Seeing this, Su Ran dismounted from Star, with one finger on his lips gesturing for the 4 little ones to remain quiet. He then tiptoed to the side of the father and son of the Du family, silently watching Huo's actions. Finally, Huo arrived at the gravestone. It curled up its huge body around the tombstone. Just like it had protected the descendants of its owner for hundreds of years, from now on, its remains would guard this grave forever. At last, Huo took a deep look at the Du family father and son, and Su Ran. The Velvet Sparrow blinked its eyes. Suddenly, it remembered the important question it had forgotten to ask. It took a secretive glance at Su Ran, a faint hint of blue flashing in its eyes. Giving up your freedom to guard a human for a lifetime, is it worth it? The questioning voice echoed in Hu's mind. A hint of surprise swept across Hu's eyes. It was then followed by a barely noticeable smile. Woof tilde. With a long sound, it finally closed its eyes. The strong aura around it dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye. The red flame extinguished along with its life. The velvet sparrow stared blankly at the lifeless Hu, its last words lingering in its mind. If you meet the right person, naturally you'll know the answer to this question. Chapter 2 Go Go Go. Chapter 261, 165 Sly One Man with Four Pets. Let's go, we shouldn't disturb them. After a moment of silence, Du Long spoke in a deep tone. We've arranged for the gravesite to be revamped. Bury it here in the same posture as Hu. I believe, whether it's my ancestors or Hu, they would all prefer it that way. All right, Su Ran naturally did not have much say in the Du family's arrangements. As for the funeral, this is not a suitable place for the funeral. I don't think Hu would want many people to see it at this time. Du Ziyu's eyes became slightly red, speaking in a soft voice. The funeral will be held tonight in the Du family courtyard. Hopefully, Boss Su can attend. Definitely, Su Ran nodded seriously. After parting ways with the Du family father and son, he took one last look at Hu before returning with the four little creatures. Chirp, can I attend the funeral tonight? The silence was broken by the velvet sparrow's chirp. Do you want to go too? Su Ran glanced at the velvet sparrow. Chirp, yes. Then let's go together. I think the Du family father and son won't mind. Su Ran nodded, his expression still carrying a trace of melancholy. I heard that for this funeral, the Du family will invite everyone who's had interactions with them over the years. Holding such a grand funeral for Hu, it's clear that the Du family saw it as a crucial part of their family. The velvet sparrow turned its head to look at Su Ran, curiosity flickering in its eyes. Chirp, can a pet beast also be family? Of course, Su Ran chuckled. Xian, Star, and Can have all become part of my family. Meow, exactly. Xian nodded in agreement, recalling all the shared experiences with Su Ran. Unconsciously, it was deeply connected to Su Ran, sharing both honor and disgrace, their fates intertwined. Such a relationship could only pertain to family. Xilu, that's right. Star emitted a neigh, its eyes full of touch. After the horse-beast race, Su Kun often brought different horse-type pet beasts for washing and protection. The little buddies who had seen Star's transformed look were amazed and sincerely wished it well. Chasing Wind also came to check on it and expressed heartfelt thanks to Su Ran. Leaving the horse-beast breeding base to follow Su Ran was the best decision it had ever made. Charming must be family. Can nodded in agreement. To Can, who first laid eyes on Su Ran, Xian, and Star upon birth, the concept of a family was engraved deep into its bones. Like this. Looking at the three little creatures' proud expressions, the velvet sparrow unexpectedly felt a twinge of envy. The journey back was wordless. Thanks to Star's speed, they quickly arrived back at the Starfare foster care shop. With Hu's matter settled, it was time to resume normal operations at the shop. Time flew and soon it was night. Seeing Su Ran arrive at the Du family courtyard, Du Ziyu, who was guarding the door, immediately went to greet him. Boss Su, let me take you in. Thank you, Su Ran nodded, entering the gates with four little creatures. He looked around curiously. Your Du family's courtyard is enormous. After all, it is an accumulation of wealth from hundreds of generations. Du Ziyu's expression was calm. He took no pride in it. Huo had a significant contribution to this. Without extraordinary power as our support, sometimes people can look down on us. Indeed, Su Ran nodded in agreement. Thinking about the departed Huo, he sighed and quickly changed the subject. Are there many attendees? Quite a lot. Du Ziyu glanced at the brightly lit villa. I heard some of the guests talking about you earlier. Maybe many of them are acquainted with you, Boss Su. That's expected, Su Ran laughed. The Starfare foster care shop's reputation in Kingju City had attracted many powerful beast masters, and before he realized it, he had come this far. After leading Su Ran into the hall, Du Ziyu excused himself. Today, he was responsible for welcoming guests and had to meet other visitors. As Su Ran entered the solemn hall with the four little creatures, he was quickly recognized by people. "Boss Sue, I didn't expect you to come." A young lady approached Sue Ran with a smile on her face. "Long time no see." "Long time no see." Recognizing the woman who had visited his shop twice before, Sue Ran politely responded. "Recently?" The woman seemed to want to say something, but her words were cut short by another voice. "Boss Sue, you're here too." Watching another man approaching from a distance, the woman shook her head helplessly and moved aside. "Hello, hello." Sue Ran responded politely to the vaguely familiar guest. Soon a crowd had gathered around him. Chirp tilde, human social interactions are quite intimidating. The Velvet Sparrow, who had retreated to one side, couldn't help but gasp in surprise. Meow tilde, indeed. Xian reached out a paw towards the Velvet Sparrow, then silently withdrew and began licking it. The Velvet Sparrow looked at Xian, subtly moved closer to Can and remained silent. After Star revealed the ability to dispel illusions, the only creature that made it feel safe among the three little ones was Can. As a result, it had the closest relationship with Can. Xilu tilde, by the way, I think I saw someone familiar. Looking around, Star murmured after a while. Meows who? Chapter 262, 165 Sly One Man with Four Pets. Xilu tilde, that's the beast master of Wind Lion Dog. Starchin lifted its hoof and pointed in a particular direction. Liu Gu was engrossed in a feast. Behind him was the Wind Lion Dog eating a meal as well. There was also a sea wave flower hovering in the air, which seemed to be holding itself at a distance, looking rather disdainful of them. Meow, indeed. Xian's eyes shone brightly the moment it glanced at Starchin. Meow, how long has it been since we last had a resource allocation? Xilu tilde, it's been 10 days since we left for Xian City. Starchin looked serious as it gazed at Liu Gu, its eyes filled with an unknown implication. Meow, meow, do you think, if he visits the shop tomorrow, will the next resource allocation start? Starchin didn't speak, it just silently nodded in agreement. This approach could be worth trying. Charming, is that even possible? Can, who was observing the conversation between Xian and Starchin, had excitement glittering in his eyes. No one was looking forward to the next resource allocation more than Can. After all, once Starchin evolved, resource allocation would be Can's forte. Charming, let's convince him to visit the shop for washing and protection tomorrow. Can made the bold proposal. Xian and Starchin looked at each other. It seemed all three of them had the same idea. Hearing the three little ones converse, a somewhat confused Velvet Sparrow blinked its eyes and couldn't help but ask. Chirp, what are you talking about? What is resource allocation? Meow tilde, this is a secret only Sue Ran's pet beasts can know. Xian glanced at the Velvet Sparrow with a profound expression. Velvet Sparrow, are you trying to pique my curiosity? Definitely. It turned its seeking gaze towards Starchin. Xilu tilde, I can't say. Starchin slightly raised its head and shook it solemnly. Damn it. The Velvet Sparrow rolled its eyes in frustration and then looked towards Can, which it was on best terms with. Charming, there's no point looking at me, it's a secret tilde. Can spread its paws, showing a helpless expression. Velvet Sparrow. Driven by intense curiosity, it felt as though it was being tormented, a terrible feeling. Humph chirp, humph fine, don't tell me then. It turned its head away and huffed. But when it heard the three little ones continue to discuss, it couldn't help but prick up its ears. Meow, how can we make him come to the shop tomorrow? Xian revealed a thoughtful expression and asked a key question. Starchin looked contemplative and quickly came up with an idea. Xilu tilde, we are pet beasts, so let's influence his pet beasts. Charming, Starchin is correct. Can swiftly nodded its head in agreement. Just like that, the consensus was that they should tiptoe towards Sue Ran, who was still busy chatting with the guests, and sneak away. Chirp tilde, I'm coming as well. Looking at the sneaky three little ones, the eyes of the Velvet Sparrow shimmered with a cunning light. Although it didn't know what resource allocation was, it guessed the intention of the three guys. They wanted to entice the human beast master to bring his pet beast for washing and protection at the shop, and prepared to find a way through his pet beast. This task, for the Velvet Sparrow that was in possession of the full moon level order of no conquest, was extremely simple. It wondered what plan they could come up with while it was available as an expert. Thinking this, the Velvet Sparrow waddled forward following them. The three little ones noticed that Velvet Sparrow was following them, but didn't mind. As long as Su Ran's secret wasn't exposed, everything else was secondary. Soon they appeared in front of Liu Gu. "Huh, aren't you Boss Su's pet beasts?" Liu Gu recognized the three little ones at once and looked surprised. "Is Boss Su here too? Where is he?" All three looked in the direction of Su Ran. "Hey, I'll go and greet him," Liu Gu chuckled. "I was so busy eating I didn't even notice." "Dog, do you want to go with me?" Woof Tilda, the winged lion dog, vigorously shook its head, and then continued with its meal already in progress. Being a dog, greeting people was too much to ask. For now, eating seemed to be the top priority. "What about the sea wave flower?" Liu Gu looked over at the nearby sea wave flower. The sea wave flower, silent as ever, followed along, signaling its intention to Liu Gu. "Stay put, pup, I'll be back." Having said this, Liu Gu walked towards Su Ran with sea wave flower. Opportunity. The eyes of the three little ones all lit up. They were originally thinking about how to distract the winged lion dog, but they didn't expect everything to go so smoothly. The Velvet Sparrow following behind them couldn't help but facepalm. It was too easy, right? He has not used the order of no conquest yet. Meow Tilda, hold on a sec. Looking around, Xian quickly approached the winged lion dog. "Woof. What's up?" The winged lion dog looked at Xian in surprise. Considering the terrifying power Xian showed when saving the tiger hunting squad, it stopped eating. "Meow, your fur is a bit dirty. Do you want to go for washing and protection?" Xian gave the winged lion dog a you-know-what-I-mean look. "Woof. Washing and protection." A glint of light flickered in the winged lion dog's eyes. It remembered the wonderful experience of washing and protection at Su Ran's place. However, this glint of light quickly faded in the winged lion dog's eyes. Due to the danger encountered last time, the tiger hunting squad hadn't left the city recently and planned to rest for a while. Liu Gu had promised it before that he would take it for washing and protection every time they returned from outside the city. The last time they returned to the city, Su Ran had already gone to Xian City. Because Sea Wave Flower couldn't tolerate even a tiny bit of dirt, Liu Gu took it to another washing and protection shop. Although the service there wasn't as good as Starfair Foster Care Shop, it was cleaned up nonetheless. It had better go for washing and protection after the next time it leaves the city. "Woof. I'll go next time." The winged lion dog shook its head. Xian was taken aback. Could a pet beast actually refuse a foster shop's washing and protection? He looked for help from Star and Can-Can, who were standing aside. The two little ones joined forces trying to talk the winged lion dog around. However, the winged lion dog was stubborn. Once it had made up its mind, no matter what the three little ones said, it wouldn't go to a foster shop for washing and protection. Just as the three little ones were at a loss, a voice quietly echoed in their minds. "How about I help you, but you will have to tell me what exactly is resource allocation." The three little ones looked at the Velvet Sparrow, who was pulling a cute face, and then they looked at each other. They all thought of the Velvet Sparrow's order of no conquest. If that skill was used, it seemed. Star and Can-Can both looked at Xian simultaneously. Let elder sister decide on this matter. Xian seemed affected, and her eyes were filled with thought. Choose some things that could be told and tell. Meow Tilda. Every once in a while, Su Ran would distribute the resources he gained during this time to the three of us for upgrading. We'd each select what we need. Chirp, so that's how it is. The Velvet Sparrow, whose curiosity was satisfied, was in a good mood. There was a flicker in his sea blue eyes. 2-star skill, full moon level order of no conquest. The winged lion dog, which was eating, had a flash of blue at the bottom of its eyes, and it slightly paused its eating. After thinking carefully, it's indeed somewhat dirty after a week. Let the beast master take it for washing and protection tomorrow. Yes, that's how it'll be done. Thinking of this, the winged lion dog continued to eat happily. Feeling the feedback from the order of no conquest, the Velvet Sparrow gave the three little ones a look. Success. Uncle Liu, you're here too. Having dealt with other guests, Su Ran showed a hint of smile as he saw Liu Gu coming. What a coincidence. He heard that the tiger hunting squad hasn't left the city for some time, and he was regretting missing winged lion dog's last washing and protection. By now, he has already saved enough pleasure value for 210 consecutive drawing sessions. He was still thinking when he would have an opportunity to rub off some of the lucky fish's luck. Just as he was thinking, the opportunity had arrived. Yes, Liu Gu laughed. I had some communication with Senior Du long before. We are familiar with each other, so I was invited. Seeing Su Ran's familiar hand landing on his shoulder, the corner of Liu Gu's mouth twitched slightly. Again. I see. Su Ran smoothly drew back his hand without leaving a trace, showed a smile on his face, and quickly changed the subject. Uncle Liu, do you know about the boss cat matter? One more to go, continue typing, no delay this time. Chapter 263, 166, The Fourth Favorite. Boss cat? Liu Gu's attention was quickly diverted, forgetting the little interlude that just happened. Speaking of which, I really have to thank you. I've heard some things about it before. I didn't expect it to join our squad as an independent pet beast. Excitement appeared on Liu Gu's face. With this, our squad now technically has leadership stage combat prowess. We were initially planning to rest for a month or two, but due to this, the captain has decided to shorten our rest period. Liu Gu scratched his head, but there was not much dissatisfaction on his face. We and Boss Cat need to accommodate each other. I believe Boss Cat will be a trustworthy teammate. Su Ran spoke earnestly. I think so too. Liu Gu laughed, chatted with Su Ran a bit more, then excused himself to head in the direction of the winged lion dog. Su Ran lowered his waving hand, his face showing a hint of emotion. He had benefited from Liu Gu's luck so many times, yet it was still as steady as ever. 2 batches of 10 resulted in 2 purple items. One was a 3-star skill scroll, while the other was something new. And it was somewhat beyond his expectations. Talent Skill Fusion Stone. The Talent Skill Fusion Stone is a special item produced by the system, capable of fusing 2 or more talent skills to form a stronger skill. Warm reminder, do not attempt to fuse talent skills before the Emperor species. This reward. The corners of Su Ran's mouth twitched slightly. He recalled that when he first received the Skill Fusion Stone, he attempted to fuse Xion's Electric Spark with Electric Pursue. The fusion success rate was displayed as 0, leading him to speculate that talent skills could not be fused. Later on, he tried fusing the talent skills of Star and Can, but the success rate was still 0, which confirmed his conjecture. He never thought that talent skills could be fused, but not with an ordinary Skill Fusion Stone. A purple rarity Talent Skill Fusion Stone. Su Ran couldn't help but grimace. He could already imagine how difficult the fusion process would be. Moreover, his current 3 pets wouldn't be able to fuse using the Talent Skill Fusion Stone. The system specially added a tip, fully illustrating the importance of the issue. Only Emperor species can fuse talent skills. Su Ran couldn't help but show a thoughtful expression. What was the principle behind this? Talent skills were inherent skills that came with the awakening process, corresponding to the potential and abilities within a pet beast's lineage. When upgrading talent skills and upgrading other skills, the pet beast's feelings were completely different. From this perspective, the fusion of talent skills perhaps signifies a unity of one's own power. Su Ran made a few wild guesses, but in the end, there was no conclusion. He quickly checked the remaining rewards. 17 Skill Fusion Stones, 1 Energy-Abundant Potion. Great, the evolution conditions for Can would surely be met after this distribution. Charming, we can distribute resources tomorrow. Can's excited voice sounded just then. Speak of Can and Can appears. We don't have to wait until tomorrow, we can distribute resources tonight. However, how did you guys know? Su Ran curiously asked the 3 little ones whose faces were full of joy. Xion, Star, Can. They can distribute resources tonight. They don't have to wait for the winged lion dog to come for the washing and protection. The 3 little ones were dumbstruck. A nearby velvet sparrow covered its mouth and giggled. Although it didn't fully understand, but it seemed like it had mooched off of Xion's enlightenment. A moment later, Su Ran understood the whole story from Xion's dejected explanation. You 3 rascals, Su Ran laughed and shook his head while pointing at them, then turned and pointed at the velvet sparrow, and you. Don't do this in the future. You can't abuse a skill like the Order of No Conquest. I'm not your pet beast, I won't listen to you. The velvet sparrow was about to retort, but when it met Su Ran's eyes, it meekly lowered its head. Chirp tilde, all right tilde. Once the winged lion dog comes tomorrow, give it free washing and protection. Su Ran shook his head helplessly. After all, it wasn't intending to come in the first place. I would feel bad collecting money." Upon hearing this, the three little ones also lowered their heads guiltily. They also realized that what they did wasn't quite right. The solemn and dignified bell sounded in the hall. The chattering guests silenced all at once. The smiles on their faces quickly vanished, and their expressions became serious. The funeral and memorial ceremony for Hugh officially began. Upstairs, Suran waved his hand, and the three little ones who had returned to the store immediately rushed upstairs. The Velvet Sparrow watched them, its eyes filled with a hint of envy and loneliness. It felt like they were leaving it out. But the Velvet Sparrow knew that it was Suran's pet beast, so the resource distribution certainly wouldn't involve it. "Chirp Tilda, I'm going back to the foster area, thanks for having me today." It nodded at Suran, swayed its tail, and headed towards the underground floor through the back door. Watching the Velvet Sparrow leave, Suran gently shook his head and laughed. Truth be told, seeing the Velvet Sparrow with the three little ones today, he genuinely felt like it was one of his own pet beast. Should he contract this little guy for his fourth pet? Forget it, he'd see what happens. Even if he was willing, the Velvet Sparrow might not agree. He could tell that it was very independent, didn't want to contract with humans, and it seemed to be hiding some secrets. Yawning lazily, Suran leisurely headed upstairs. It's still early for the contract power to break through to the fourth stage. Chapter 264-166, The Fourth Favorite. There is plenty of time in the future. A moment later in the room on the second floor, Suran sat on the edge of the bed, looking at the three little ones lined up in front of him. He took out 2 artifacts and began to write. Physical points, 92-13 points not assigned. Skill points, 16-18 points can plus 56-86 points not assigned. Skill fragments, 21 pieces can plus 86 pieces not assigned. Skill fusion stones, 17 pieces not assigned. Talent skill fusion stone, 1 piece not assigned. Energy abundant potion, 1 bottle not assigned. Beast master points, 31-92 points not assigned. 3-star skill scrolls X1. I know what you guys want to ask. Looking at the three little ones staring intently at the talent skill fusion stone column, Suran smiled knowingly. This talent skill fusion stone. He roughly introduced the effects and limitations, and then spread his hands. In any case, this thing will be useful in the future, but you guys can't use it now. Whether or not to exchange it in advance and stock it up is up to you. The three little ones glanced at each other. Meow Tilda, I won't exchange it, let's just keep it. Xian shook his head. When really needed, he could borrow from other little pals, just like how he lent 3,000 Beast Master points to Cancan. Alright, Cancan still owed him 3,000 value points. Xian couldn't help but give Cancan an extra look. In any case, exchanging now doesn't make much sense. After some thought, Star and Cancan nodded, making the same decision as Xian. Then just hold on to it for now. I'll give you the corresponding value points ahead of time as a surplus. Suran nodded, and then announced the value point situation this time. All of your previous value points were used up. There was no surplus, and this time the total value points are 22,701 points. Each of you will get 7,567 points. After that, Suran looked at Cancan. As the only member of the team who is still preparing for evolution, it's still Cancan's priority to exchange. Charming, firstly, fuse the skills. Cancan's eyes glowed, full of anticipation. Okay? Suran nodded and glanced at the little blackboard, but even if you use all the skill fragments, you can't exchange for 3 2-star skills. Why not exchange for a 3-star skill scroll? Cancan shook his head. All of its remaining 3 skills are strong 2-star skills. It just needs to fuse 1 2-star skills, and it can smoothly upgrade to 3-star. Using a 3-star skill scroll would be kind of a loss. With the experience of merging Echoing of Earth Vein last time, Cancan quickly thought of an alternative. Charming, we can use 20 skill fragments to exchange for 2 1-star skills. With this, a few more skill fusion stones need to be consumed, but the skill effects that can be obtained are more diversified and do not incur a loss. That works, let me help you take a look. Suran opened Cancan's panel. Giving body to fertile soil starlight level, 387/500 plus. Earth collapse starlight level, 328/500 plus. Sturdy rock wall starlight level, 392/500 plus. Echoing of Earth Vein, Starlight Level, 339/500+. Jizamitsu, Starlight Level, 220/500+. Dragon Power, Starlight Level, 67/500+. Out of the 6 skills, 3 still need to be fused. ETH Collapse and Sturdy Rock Wall are relatively easier to fuse, but Dragon Power isn't that easy to find a suitable skill for. So, Suran quickly had an idea. Earth Collapse plus Shockwave. Fusion success rate, 11.9%. Shockwave is a common skill that causes damage to the air through high-frequency vibration. An Earth Collapse targets the ground and underground. After the two are fused, Earth Collapse is likely to become a skill with aerial capabilities. Just for this reason alone, it's enough for Suran to choose it, let alone that it has a not low fusion success rate with Earth Collapse. Sturdy Rock Wall plus Regeneration Power. Fusion success rate, 12.1%. Regeneration Power is a common skill that can achieve rapid regeneration, but its target of regeneration is not the caster himself, meaning it can't be used to heal injuries. It can regenerate certain release skills, making the skill no longer a one-time deal that depletes after it's released and can only be re-released, but it becomes a skill whose consumed part can be replenished by consuming power, achieving the enhancement of some skills. If it is fused with Sturdy Rock Wall, then the Sturdy Rock Wall will have the ability to self-regenerate. The defense is already strong enough, and it can regenerate after it's painstakingly shattered. How beautiful is this to let it pass? Dragon Power plus Fervor plus Dawn. Fusion success rate, 1.2%. The fusion success rate of Dragon Power is lower than Suran's expectation. According to his guess, this might be related to Dragon Power being a dragon-exclusive skill. Luckily, they have plenty of skill fusion stones this time. They will force it through, even if the success rate is low. Fervor and Taunt are the most suitable skills Suran found for fusion with Dragon Power among many one-star skills. The effect of the former is somewhat similar to Xion's Blood Fury. It can improve the caster all around. Since the increase is much lower than Blood Fury, it has no side effects. While it's relatively ordinary, coupled with Echoing of Earth Vein, the double stacking can still significantly improve Cancan's power. As for the latter, this skill can, to a certain extent, influence the opponent, induce resentment and other negative emotions, making it a priority to attack the caster. How does the saying go? For a good MT, pulling aggro is a required course. After the 3 skills are successfully fused, every time Cancan releases Dragon Power, it could increase his own buff and the hatred value of the opponent. It sounds quite impressive. Once the skills have been selected, Cancan's integration officially begins. The 3 skill stones were placed. Earth Collapse Starlight Level, 328/500+. Earth-Shattering Skyfall Starlight Level, 328/500+. 2 more skill fusion stones are placed. Sturdy Rock Wall Starlight Level, 392/500+. Eternal Iron Wall Starlight Level, 392/500+. After completing the fusion of the first 2 skills, Suran paused and looked at Cancan. How do you feel? Charming, the feeling is so wonderful. Joy filled Cancan's eyes. With all the talent skills elevated to 3 stars, it felt as if the shackles of its potential were completely unlocked. Evolution is beckoning to it. What about the effect of the new skill? Suran asked again. Cancan interpreted the effects, then introduced the new skills to his buddies with excitement. As Suran expected, Earth-Shattering Skyfall is a skill that covers the sky, ground, and underground. Its range is a sphere centered on Cancan, which is similar to Xion's Thunder Shake Heavenly Sound. But he was surprised by some of the changes in the skill effect. In addition to the original shock and shatter effects, Earth-Shattering Skyfall also had a collapse effect at the end of the release. It could collapse and squeeze everything within the attack range, causing extensive one-time damage, and Cancan was the only one that could be exempted. Good news, the damage is higher. Bad news, it does not distinguish between friend and foe, so use it with caution. As for Eternal Iron Wall, the rock wall has been changed to a steel wall, the defense has increased, and it has regeneration ability. It can quickly repair by draining Cancan's own power. Suran's desired effect was achieved. The added regeneration ability alone could take this skill's defensive power up a few notches. Great, Su-ran nodded in satisfaction, then took a deep breath. Next, are you ready to elevate dragon power to 3 stars? Unlike other skills, when a taught skill is promoted to 3 stars, you will suffer great pain. Meow tilde indeed. Xian agreed with a nod from the side. It deeply understood this. Charming, bring it on. Determination filled Cancan's eyes. All talent skills are now at 3 stars. Cancan felt more powerful than ever. In one fell swoop, dragon power should also be upgraded to 3 stars. Okay, Su-ran took a deep breath and threw down 7 skill fusion stones. Dragon power starlight level, 67/100 plus. Dragon blood horn starlight level, 67/100 plus. As the prompts for the successful fusion of skills appeared, the power around Cancan violently surged. Dragon scales and fragmentary feathers grew disorderly and then disappeared on its body outside the shell. A wave of pain, like the tearing of flesh and blood, surged like a tide. Cancan gritted its teeth, shut its eyes tightly, and its face was full of pain. It took a long while before it finally dared to open its eyes, still with a lingering fear. Charming, add points. The conditions for evolution have been met, and it's only one step away. Chapter 265-167, Goal, Evolution. Invest all your skill points into the waning moon level, which only requires 1267 skill points. You have enough left over from before. Su-ran paused his speech. But there's no rush. Let's first see the effect of your new skill after the dragon power has been upgraded. Charming, let me see. Cancan nodded, only then remembered that he hadn't had the chance to experience the new skill he had just obtained. This skill had caused him so much agony, it must be stronger, right? He closed his eyes, and a moment later reopened them, his eyes revealing a satisfied expression. This pain, it didn't seem to have been endured in vain. Charming, the new skill's effect is. Cancan started to introduce the effects of this dragon blood horn, a 3-star skill. After hearing it, surprise appeared on the faces of Su-ran, Xian, and Star. This 3-star skill's effect really was somewhat special. Besides having the effects of 3 pre-fusion skills, suppression, self-enhancement, and taunt, Dragon Blood Horn also possessed an extremely unique effect related to dragons. As long as the essence of dragon pet beast's blood is consumed, this skill can be enhanced, and the enhancement effect is related to the power of the dragon pet beast that provided the blood essence. So, Su-ran stroked his chin, can your own blood essence also do the enhancement? Charming tilde, not possible. Cancan shook his head slightly. After acquiring this skill, it developed a small special ability, which can discern what kind of pet beasts meet the requirements of Dragon Blood Horn, equivalent to determining what kind of pet beasts are considered dragon pet beasts. Although it could learn dragon power, Cancan could feel that there seemed to be a difference between him and dragon pet beasts at the moment. Therefore, its blood essence couldn't be used to amplify the Dragon Blood Horn. Besides, Charming, who would use their own blood when the blood of other pet beasts can be used? That's true, Su-ran nodded. The enhancement effect of this skill using dragon blood remains to be tested. If it's beneficial, in the future you might need to use quite a few beast master points to exchange for the blood essence of dragon pet beasts. Okay, now let's upgrade your skills. Su-ran chuckled and raised his hand to apply the skill points belonging to Cancan. All skills were upgraded to the waning moon level, and the remaining 351 skill points, after consulting Cancan, were added to the echoing of the earth vein. Charming, I can evolve. Feeling the newfound power, Cancan's eyes were filled with excitement. After enduring so much suffering, it finally met all the evolutionary conditions and gathered all the materials needed for evolution. Next, all we need to do is to find a place suitable for the evolution ceremony. Su-ran nodded, then with a quick change in tone added, but an earth attribute dragon's extraordinary corpse buried underground is not so easy to find. Charming, I understand. Cancan nodded seriously. Of course it understood. It added the remaining skill points to the echoing of the earth vein bearing this in mind. The echoing of the earth vein fused with the earth attribute's detection skill, the earthquake wave, during the upgrade process, gaining an impressive subterranean exploration ability. This could prove key in finding a suitable location for the evolution ceremony. We'll leave the city tomorrow, but let's continue with the allocation for now. Su-ran pointed at the small blackboard. During the skill upgrade just now, You used 79 unallocated skill fragments and 12 skill fusion stones. A total of 1990 value points. Almost 2,000 used up already. A hint of stinginess appeared in Cancan's eyes. It turned its gaze towards Xian. Charming, first pay off Big Sister's 3,000. Meow, okay. Xian's eyes lit up. It had been waiting for this moment. With the 3,000 value points paid back by Cancan, Xian's value points exceeded 10,000. After being suppressed by Star for so long, Xian had finally become the richest in the team. Wait, it could be even richer. Xian, as if having thought of something, slowly turned its gaze towards Star. Xilu Tilda, I have to give Big Sister 700 value points. Star shook its head. Its eyes displayed a hint of reluctance, but it still took the initiative to speak. Earlier, Star and Xian made an agreement. Xian used the power of the full moon level King's power to speed up Star's proficiency increase in King's power every day, and Star would pay Xian 100 value points per day as a reward. Previously, all of Star's value points were exhausted during evolution, so it had been in debt. Now that new value points were in its account, it was time to start paying back. With the help of Xian, Star's King's power had rocketed up, reaching the waning moon level within a mere 7 days without any extra skill point increases, and it has already gained a considerable amount of proficiency. So Star did not hesitate to give these value points. Meow, 3,700 value points are credited. Xian yelped in joy, its face filled with excitement. It's Xian, the richest in the team, who always pays its debts, had made it. Seeing the excited Xian, Suran chuckled, then turned his attention back to Cancan. You still have 2,577 value points left. Is there anything else you want to exchange? Charming Tilda, let Big Sister Xian and Big Brother Star have a go, Tilda. The excitement in Cancan's eyes subsided. It glanced at the remaining items on the blackboard, then shook his head. It, who had met the evolution conditions and gathered the necessary materials, had lost its priority, being aware of what happened to Star previously. It knew this clearly. Chapter 266-167, Goal Evolution. Xian borrowed 3,000 Beast Master Points from Xian City. With this financial backing, she was able to quickly gather all her evolution materials. She and Star also gambled using their own resources, winning her an Earth attribute resource valued at 3,400 points. The latter propelled her to be complete in the elite stage in such a short time. Being taken care of so well by her older brother and sister, she wouldn't continue to take advantage after losing first dibs. There are many more great things after all, which her elder brother and sister surely need. Meow Tilda, let me do it. Xian reassuredly took a glance at Cancan before speaking up on her own. The first resource she wanted to exchange was the 3-star skill scroll. During the exchange, Xian specifically looked at Star. After all, like her, Star still had a skill that hadn't reached 3-star status yet. Xilu Tilda, you go first. Star shook his head, implying he was not in a rush. His immortal star attraction, although just a 2-star skill at present, was still enough for him. As for the 1-star skill reduction he got from Cancan, boosting it to a 3-star Jizumitsu was tempting, but Xian's upgrade was more important. Star had already guessed what the elder sister was going to do with the 3-star scroll. And reality confirmed his guess. Meow, I want to use the 3-star skill scroll to upgrade Blood Fury. Xian's voice was filled with determination. Seeing Star and Cancan keep their talent skills to the maximum degree, blending other teaching skills into them, she was deeply moved. Having evolved first, she hadn't thought about such operation before. But every coin has 2 sides. Xian could summarize the rules from Star's and Cancan's attempts, avoiding stepping on pitfalls. Today, Xian has a new plan for strengthening. Firstly, she's going to fuse the non-talent skills. Moreover, it was not a simple direct fusion. Xian's goal was massive. She already set her eyes on the new level above the 3-star skills, 4-star. Therefore, she intended to gradually enhance the non-talent skills to 3-star, and then fuse them with talent skills in an attempt to reach 4 stars. The process might be more complicated, but higher stakes bring higher returns. Now let her start with the 1-star skill, Blood Fury, which has been silently existing and has not been upgraded until now. Upgrade Blood Fury. A trace of surprise appeared in Su Ran's eyes. He looked up at Xian, seemed to understand her thoughts, and anticipation also appeared in his eyes. Then upgrade Blood Fury. The 3-star skill scroll was ready for use. Blood Fury, waning moon level plus. Scarlet Battle Intent, waning moon level plus. Xian closed her eyes and then slowly opened them. A hint of joy appeared in her eyes. Apparently, the effect of this new skill, which upgraded from 1-star to 3-star in one step, was quite satisfactory to her. What's the effect? Detecting the fluctuation in Xian's mood, Su Ran asked curiously. Even Star and Can were also looking forward to it at this moment. Meow tilde, the effect of the new skill is. Xian took a deep breath and quickly started to explain. Hearing the description, the faces of the 2 pets and 1 human revealed a surprise. The previous Blood Fury could boost Xian's comprehensive power instantly, but the drawback was that it would cause temporary loss of rationality and would leave her in a weak state for quite some time after the effect ended. The advantages and disadvantages were both quite apparent. Now compared to before, this skill has changed dramatically. It is no longer a common skill, but a fighting attribute skill. When this skill is used, it can greatly enhance Xian's comprehensive power and also provide additional improvements to skills containing the fighting attribute. Its side effects have changed too. First, after Xian summoned it, she would no longer fall into an uncontrollable rage state. She would still be influenced by her battle intent and become more aggressive. Upon hearing this effect, Can immediately drew her head back. Her big sister right now is already so terrifying. If she becomes even more aggressive, then what would be left? Other than that, the previous side effect of the weakening that resulted from Blood Fury also changed. After using it, Xian would lose her fighting attribute powers for a short period of time, becoming purely a thunder attribute, and she wouldn't be able to use the corresponding skills associated with the fighting attribute. In this case, even though her strength would be weakened and the Destruction Thunder Claw, Fighting Body, Heartfelt Strike, and Scarlet Battle Intent would be temporarily unusable, it doesn't mean she would be completely unable to fight. Overall, this round of enhancement can be summed up in one word. Awesome. Meow, Skill Fusion Stone, I want to exchange 3. Feeling the joy of enhanced strength, Xian turned her attention to the 5 remaining Skill Fusion Stones left after Can's exchange. Considering that Star was also exchanging, she chose to exchange only 3. In reality, if you follow her subsequent strengthening plan, integrating a talent skill to 4 stars first, the 3 Skill Fusion Stones are far from enough. She will need to save them up. Once she has about 100 or so, she can use them all at once. Xilu tilde, I'll take the remaining 2. Star nodded and took down the remaining 2 Skill Fusion Stones. The upgrade of the reduction skill was temporarily set aside. Upgrading the Immortal Star Attraction to 3 stars is her main goal for the time being, hence both the Skill Fusion Stones and Skill Fragments are needed. Xilu tilde, I took 1 less Skill Fusion Stone, could I have the remaining 7 Skill Fragments? Star turned an inquiring glance at Xian. Xian wore a distressed expression, but eventually nodded in agreement, thinking that there will certainly be no shortage of Skill Fusion Stones when resources are allocated next time. Meow tilde, okay then. Then came the distribution of other resources. Xian exchanged the only available energy abundant potion. Aside from her, both Star and Can already have skills that can quickly recover their strength and do not have a large demand for the energy abundant potion. Then the 3 little ones divided the Beast Master points equally. Can used all the remaining value points to exchange for skill points and added them to Echoing of Earth Vein. Echoing of Earth Vein, waning moon level, 351 2000. Echoing of Earth Vein, waning moon level, 1864 2000. Although the skill did not reach full moon level, it was very close. Afterwards, the remaining skill points were divided equally between Star and Xian. After they both added some points, their skill situations changed once again. Star, who previously only had the skills Night Rune, Faded Star Pulling, and Heart of Eternal Night at full moon level, this time upgraded Night Inspection, Moon Concealment Star Racing, and King's Power to full moon level as well. From this point onwards, the only skills she has not attained full moon level are Immortal Star Attraction and Reduction. Xian's improvement was just as astonishing. Having already decided to gradually merge non-talent skills into talent skills, she will not add skill proficiency to superfast self-healing, Scarlet Battle Intent, and Reduction anymore. Prior to this, she had already upgraded all her 3-star skills to full moon level. So this time, the skills she needed to upgrade were Heartfelt Strike and Falling Thunder, both 2-star talent skills. The problem is that, with Xian's continuous training, the proficiency of these two skills has already increased. The total skill points needed to upgrade both to full moon level are less than 1,000. Therefore, after a brief hesitation, Xian allocated the remaining skill points to Thunder Shake Heavenly Sound. This particular skill was the first to reach the full moon level. Back then, Xian, who was only at elite stage, couldn't raise it any further. But after Xian reached the leadership stage, full moon level skills could be further upgraded either by adding points or training to increase proficiency. With this, Xian, being the first beast to complete a contract, and the first beast to evolve on the team, took the lead in striving for a new skill proficiency above full moon level. In the following physical point exchange, Star exhausted all her value points, and after Xian exchanged the remaining part, she still had an excess of 1,000 value points, equivalent to the talent skill fusion stone that hasn't been exchanged. Allocation ended. Su Ran knocked on the chalkboard and said with a smile, "Rest for the evening, we're leaving the city tomorrow. The goal this time is to help Can complete the evolution. I'm now writing the second chapter, keep pushing." Chapter 267, 168, Why didn't you ask me earlier? Early the next day, Su Ran hung up the "closed for now" sign on the door of the Starfare foster care shop and turned to leave. Boss tilde. A voice full of desolation came from behind Su Ran, making the corner of his mouth twitch slightly. "What is it now, Teacher Tony? How long will you be gone this time?" Tony made a disheartened expression. "I'll be so lonely tending to the shop by myself, tilde." "Not too long." Su Ran rubbed his forehead. "If things go well, I'll be back today." "Sure, it must go smoothly." Can interrupted Su Ran, his eyes filled with anticipation and nervousness. This was its evolution. It would not allow failure. Su Ran smiled. "It will definitely go smoothly." "Chirp, where are you all going?" The Velvet Sparrow waddled out of the shop, preparing to begin a new day exploring Kingju City. Seeing the posture of the person and three pets about to leave, it couldn't help but reveal a curious and probing look. "What are these guys up to? Last night, they should have already done the so-called resource allocation, right? So, are they not opening for business today because it has to do with the resource allocation last night?" With this thought, the Velvet Sparrow's eyes lit up instantly. "Chirp, take me with you." "Sure, no." Without waiting for Su Ran and the other two to speak, Can was shaking his head like a drum in quick opposition. The Velvet Sparrow was not part of their team. It would not be convenient to bring it along for something as important as an evolution. Although Su Ran, Xian, and Star didn't say a word, their expressions were also rejecting. The loss in the Velvet Sparrow's eyes flashed by. Then it shook its round head, its upright feathers swaying. "Chirp tilde, all right, I'll wait for your return then." It flapped its little wings and waddled towards the other side of the street. "Let's set off too." Watching the Velvet Sparrow's retreating figure, Su Ran spoke softly, then got up and rode away. Shortly after, the person and three pets stopped before the city gate. At this moment, the city gate was still closed. 4 minutes until it opens. Su Ran glanced at the time and chuckled, faster than expected. "Xilu tilde, of course." Star issued a neigh, its eyes filled with a sense of accomplishment. The reason they arrived quicker was because its moon concealment star racing had upgraded to full moon level last night, leading to a notable speed increase. "Sure, when I complete my evolution and break through to the leadership stage, I too will upgrade my skills to full moon level one by one." Envy was evident in Can's eyes. Xian and Star have managed to upgrade most of their crucial skills to full moon level. However, Can's skill proficiency level was just over waning moon level except for echoing of Earth Vein. The prospect of upgrading proficiency seemed very distant. It was decided, after the evolution, echoing of Earth Vein should be the first to be upgraded. "Keep it up," Su Ran patted Can's head encouragingly. Among the conversations of the person and three pets, the 4 minutes passed quickly. The city gate slowly opened, with a deep rumbling sound under the gaze of hundreds of beast masters on the square. Star issued an excited neigh, and carrying 2 pets on its back, completely concealed its form and aura. Unnoticed by others, it crossed the city gate instantly and headed towards an unknown direction. However, its sprint didn't last long. It proceeded for about 10 kilometers and then stopped. This distance had already taken them out of the protection range of Kingju City. They were separated from other beast masters and free from influences. Kankan, echoing of Earth Vein. Su ran through Kankan on the ground from Star's back and gave it an order. So far, he had received no information on the remains of Earth attribute Dragon's extraordinary beings. Therefore, Kankan was the only chance for treasure finding it was all up to it. In other words, it needed to stand on its own feet and find the site for its evolution. Neither Xian nor Star had this requirement during their evolution. Xian found a suitable site purely by accident, whereas Star's evolution didn't demand a specific site. Upon landing, Kankan rapidly reverted to its regular size. Amid the gusts of wind blown up in an instant, its body increased from less than 1 meter to a full 27 meters in an instant. Its massive claws were heavily pressed on the ground, looking like a small hill. "Sure, watch me." Upon returning to its normal state, Kankan roared. Its form expanded again amid Star's retreat, and with every breath it passed 30 meters, transitioning from super large size to the scale of a giant beast. 50 meters, 100 meters, 150 meters. In the end, it reached a terrifying length of 200 meters, even surpassing the size of the remains of the giant beast they once saw at the foot of the Thunderbolt half mountain. Meanwhile, Kankan's momentum was also rapidly escalating at a frightening speed. 20,000, 30,000, 40,000. When its momentum approached 50,000, far surpassing the usual range of the elite stage, Kankan's momentum gradually came to a halt. 3-star skill waning moon level, Jizumitsu. Pushing the enlarging body effect to the extreme was an exceptional experience for Kankan. Despite having an enormous body over 200 meters in size, Kankan could only describe its movements as inexplicably heavy. Even the act of lifting its claws to take one step forward felt incredibly difficult. Chapter 268, 168, Why didn't you ask me earlier? This is the horrific side effect of improving one's strength under Jizumitsu, and also the critical reason why Xian and Star, despite their eagerness, did not immediately upgrade their reduction to 3 stars. However, this impact is minimal for what Kankan needs to do next. Charming. With a roar to the sky, an earth-colored halo swirls around Kankan's huge body. The ground shakes vigorously, spreading in all directions from Kankan and turning into visible earthquake waves, startling countless wild super creatures who were watching from afar. 3-star skill, waning moon level echoing of Earth Vein. The Earth attribute power drawn from deep within the land brings Kankan's strength, which was already at its peak under the state of Jizumitsu, soaring again. 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. 1 kilometer, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers. Under the release of a skill close to full moon level, everything within a radius of 3 kilometers and the same distance underground becomes clear in Kankan's perception. But it's not over yet. "Zailu, I'll help you." Star roars and a faint light flashes around him. Accompanied by dark and complex runes swirling around Kankan's enormous body, a terrifying momentum brews around Kankan. 80,000, 120,000, 150,000. The earth-shaking earthquake wave continues to expand, reaching levels that only a creature with leadership stage strength could touch. 4 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 8 kilometers. The next moment, after finishing the nearby reconnaissance, Kankan's aura rapidly fades, its body instantly returning to its original length of 27 meters. The terrifying power just now had reached Kankan's limit of control. Even a full-force exploration had it somewhat drained. After all, Kankan is still only at the elite stage level at this moment, having yet to evolve. Charming, there's none in the vicinity. Looking at the rapidly approaching Su Ran and the 2 little ones, Kankan's expression shows a slight regret, with a shake of its head. However, it then pauses before speaking. Charming, but there are a dozen resources buried underground, one of which has reached the leadership stage level. Huh, Su Ran's face shows a touch of surprise. He didn't expect there would be unexpected gains. But on second thought, it seems quite normal. Unlike within the city, the outside area serves as a habitat for wild super creatures. There are often fallen super creatures causing the seepage of transcendent power, and some natural resources are randomly produced, like the heart of the Thunder Glow Stone. These resources may not have caused much commotion when born, and might not have been detected by other super creatures, thus remaining buried underground, waiting for a lucky one to discover. Other skills that can detect might find some, but surely not as efficiently as can under the boost of Star. Therefore, even in areas that many people have known and explored, they can still find some good things that ordinary people can't. Can you dig it out? Suran looks at Can. Charming, some can be dug up, but the one at the leadership stage level is buried too deep. A hint of helplessness can be seen in Can's eyes. Although under the influence of Star, its detection range reaches 8 kilometers, being detectable does not mean it can be easily reached. Can's skill system is quite comprehensive now, but lacks the ability to drill ground. Relying on Earth attribute power to dig hard would take too much time. It seems I need to arrange an Earth escape type skill for you. Suran strokes his chin, also realizing Can's shortcoming, but we'll discuss that after the evolution. Since the resource at the leadership stage level can't be dug out, there's no need to waste time on that. Considering the area he needs to explore on this trip out of the city, Suran massages his temples. To better help Can find a suitable evolution site, Suran and the 3 little ones had already attempted in the Earth attribute training area to understand the detection range of Can using echoing of Earth vein under their combined amplification. The reason for not using Faded Star pulling to tether Suran and Star together to further increase the amplification effect is that it has already exceeded Can's endurance limit. The limit that Can withstand at present is the 150,000 reached by echoing of Earth Vein plus Jizamixu plus Night Rune. Having determined the detection range, Suran divided all the areas within the outskirts of the beast field he knew into dozens of detection points, ensuring a comprehensive coverage. The mission this time out of the city is to detect all these points. Let's go next to the next detection point. As long as they are not too unlucky, a suitable place should be found for Can to evolve in such a vast area. Alright, our luck is that great. At dusk the next day, Suran stood with the 3 little ones at the last detection point and heaved a resigned sigh. Charming, what about my evolution? Coming out of Jizamixu state and returning to its original size, Can lowered its head in frustration, looking utterly disheartened. In the span of 2 days, they had searched dozens of detection points and found no trace of Earth attribute dragon extraordinary being corpses, gradually dampening the enthusiasm they had felt when leaving the city. The last detection point also yielded no buried remnants of Earth attribute dragon extraordinary beings, leaving Can utterly devastated. Can thought once it had met the evolution conditions and gathered the right materials, it would be very close to evolution. Never did it expect this step would be so difficult. You don't need to be too upset. Suran sighed gently and motioned for Can to come over. Can quickly reduced its size, rubbing its head against Suran's palm. We may not have found the right place for your evolution, but such places certainly exist, Suran said softly. We have only searched the areas that are shown on our map. In the context of Beast Field 97, these areas may not even constitute 1/10,000th of the total. Thus, as long as we keep searching, we are sure to find it. The glow in Can's eyes gradually brightened. It seemed that there was still hope. Charming, when will we continue the search? We must return home first. Suran paused a moment before saying, the upcoming areas are all uncharted territories. Your detection could alert some unknown transcendent beings, causing danger and trouble. The best method would be to return to the city, gather more maps, Suran stroked Can's head, and come back for more comprehensive preparation. Charming, okay. Can nodded heavily. While it is eager to evolve, it understands from Suran that this is the best course of action. Let's go home. Suran looked towards Kingju City, nestled at the end of their view. After much wandering, having screened a full circle, they returned to the area adjacent to Kingju City. The return journey wouldn't take up too much time, and they could just catch the city's final opening of the day. Chirp Tilda, so you guys want to aid Can in its evolution. The Velvet Sparrow studied the travel-weary company of 1 human and 3 pets. After waiting for 2 days and a night, its curiosity was finally satiated. It gave Can, who appeared the same and showed no increase in strength, a once-over before flapping its wings and hopping onto Can's head to pat it. Chirp Tilda, well, evolution is not an easy thing, failure is normal. Charming, I haven't failed at all. Can irritably shook its head, tossing the Velvet Sparrow onto a nearby artificial mountain. Charming, I just haven't found the right spot to evolve, that's all. Chirp, what's this about the right spot for evolution? The velvet sparrow looked at Can strangely, before flapping its wings nonchalantly. Chirp Tilda, let's hear it, maybe I might know. Can gave the velvet sparrow a disgusted look, apparently not believing it. However, Can, who was not in the best of moods, still provided an answer offhand. Charming. I need to find a buried corpse of an earth attribute dragon extraordinary being. Huh? The velvet sparrow looked at Can quizzically. Chirp, why didn't you ask me earlier? Still got 8,000, let's do it.